Hi, this is Michael Buffer, and welcome to the BoxHard Podcast.
Hello, everyone. This is Mikey Garcia.
This the monster from the swamps, Regis Rougarou Program.
Hey, what's up? This is King Carlos Molina, former IBF world champ.
This is Michael, the Bounty Hunter, 2012 Olympian and your people's champ.
This is Charlie Edwards, flyweight champion of the world.
This is Fast Eddie Chambers, and you're listening to the BoxHard Podcast with my main man, Joey Coastman.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 288 of the BoxHard Podcast. I'm your host Joey Coastman. I'm joined as ever by one of my bestest friends in this entire world. It is of course Mr. Fast Eddie Chambers. Eddie, welcome back on the show, my friend. How are you?
I'm good, my man. How you feeling?
Always good when speaking with you, my friend. Always good when speaking with you. So like I said, this week we're going to start with the review part, then we're going to do the the news, then the preview part, and we're only going to have one guest, but it's going to be right at the very end of the show. It's going to be with the former two-time heavyweight world champion, Mr. Tim Witherspoon, a guy who did many rounds sparring with Eddie actually once upon a time, but that will be good. That's going to be at the very end, and believe me, he has some great memories that we're going to discuss, so really looking forward to that. But let's dive straight into the review part of the show. Again, we're going to try to whiz through this as quick as possible. We're going to start here, a card that took place last week at the Fiesta Casino in San Jose, Costa Rica. Hannah Gabriel's, she's now 21-2 with a draw. We mocked it really on last week's show, and I'm still not best pleased with this because she was able to knock out in 2 rounds Martha Gaetan, who's now 11-10. So Hannah Gabriel's is now the new WBC heavyweight world champion and the new WBA world female light heavyweight champion. I think she weighed in at about 168 pounds. And another really messed up thing is that Martha Gaetan, I actually overlooked the fact that in her very last fight, she actually got stopped in 1 round. So, it is bad for her to have been stopped in a round. Then in her very next fight, she's boxing for 2 weight class world titles. It doesn't look good. It says a lot about the sport of boxing, coming off a first round knockout and your very next fight. Oh, it's bizarre. But anyway, that was it for Costa Rica. I believe Dennis Duglin, the mama's boy, was supposed to be on the undercard. For whatever reason, his fight didn't end up happening. Moving out now to the Bolton Whites Hotel in Lancashire, United Kingdom. Over here, a good card put on by MTK. On the undercard, let's start with a good win for Lewis Edmondson. He was able to make his opponent, Luke Blackledge, retire on his store after 3 rounds. Edmondson now 5-0. It's a good name, I suppose, for his record early on there. Joe Ham, he lost on points over 8 rounds to Jack Bateson, who's now 13-0. Again, that one was over 8 rounds. Joe Ham now 16-3. Jack Bateson 13-0. And moving up the card once again, a good win for Dan Aziz, but it was a close fight. He is now 13-0. A split decision over 10 rounds against Ricky Summers, who's now 17-3 with a draw. It was for the English light heavyweight title, and I personally think there are so many fun fights that can be made at 175 here in the UK with a lot of guys that are just below, this is going to sound a bit disrespectful, but I guess just below British level. They haven't yet proven that they're good enough to be at that British level just yet. Dan Aziz is one of those guys, you can throw him in the mix with someone like a Hosea Burton, with a Shakan Pitters. Obviously, these are former British champions, but still, there's many good fights there. Hosea Burton, Shakan Pitters, Dan Aziz, Cody Davies, Liam Conroy, Bob Agisaf, Dex Spellman, Chad Sugden, Ricky Summers, like we say, Lawrence Usiki, or Usueki, I think his name is. You've got Andre Sterling, if I didn't already say him. There's so many good fighters there, and all these fights can be made. You've got the likes of Ryan Hatton coming through as well. Joe Fournier, I don't think we're going to see him. Tommy Fury, of course, at that weight as well. There are so many big fights that can be made with these guys, and just above those guys, you've obviously got the likes of, you know, your Craig Richards, your Anthony Yards, your Lyndon Arthurs, your Josh Buatsis, those types of guys. There's so many great fights that can be made at 175, but good win for Dan Aziz. I think it was a good learning fight for him. I think it was the perfect kind of name he needed. A win against Ricky Summers, and it's a good domestic name. So I wish him all the best. Good win, and I would like to see him fight one or two of those guys that I just mentioned there. And the main event, Danny Dignam against Andrei Sorokin. It was a bit of a weird one. It was for the WBO European middleweight title. Danny Dignam, I expected to probably come up short, if I'm being honest, against Sorokin, who I rate very highly. Sorokin being a very tough southpaw, been in there with John Ryder, and that was his only loss, and he was a real puzzle for John Ryder as well. He soaked up a lot of big shots as well, and I thought Danny Dignam would do really well to beat this guy, and he didn't beat him. It ended in a split draw over 10 rounds. So yeah, Dignam was cut as well, I think in the 8th round and the 10th round, 2 different cuts. So yeah, very tough Sorokin. Both guys were southpaw. It was, it made for a good fight actually, but yeah, Danny Dignam, I'd like to see the rematch for him, to be honest with you. Yeah, but it's a fight that never made much sense, but credit to him for taking the fight. He didn't take a loss. Perhaps we can see the rematch. Perhaps we can see something different for him. But he is proving that he is ready to take big step ups, and he's still kind of early on in his career. Really, he's 13 or 14 now fights in. But it was a big risk, and that's possibly a sign of more risks to come, which we like to see. Moving out now to the Shrine Exposition Center in Los Angeles, California. Over here, one fight to mention, friend of the show, Tony Harrison, now 28-3 with a draw. He drew, it was a split draw over 12 rounds against Bryant Perella, who's now 17-3 with a draw. I didn't watch the fight, but from what I've seen, a lot of people are saying that Tony Harrison got beaten up pretty bad in this fight and was really lucky to escape with a draw. You've unmuted, Eddie, so did you have something to say on that one?
Yeah, I watched it. I actually watched it.
Oh, okay. You know more than me. Take it away, man.
Well, honestly, it did look as if Tony was having trouble with this guy. Now, the punch stats were real close. Tony was obviously more accurate, but threw less punches. But I'll say at times, each round it was hard to score. I ain't gonna lie. Sometimes it was hard to score. There were rounds where Tony was landing the better shots. He was landing multiple jabs at times. And that's the thing. Like, his jabs were really good. He would follow up sometimes with 3 jabs, maybe land all 3. But the other kid was not letting it go. He would come back and throw a couple shots. So they were matching shots. Sometimes I think the kid outlanded him by a few, but he threw a lot more. So Tony was he was obviously more accurate. And to be honest with you, the fight was close. It could have been that. But I could see how a lot of people would say the other kid got the fight because it was close. And the other kid's power punches were, obviously more so than Tony's. Tony landed a lot of good jabs. So the fight was interesting. You know what I mean? It was not a gimme at all for either one. But this kid actually showed out pretty well. He did a good job. He did what he could to make the fight, I don't want to say ugly. Like, it wasn't that he had a ugly style necessarily, because he was landing some clean shots on Tony. Had his head going back. Actually, like, he buzzed him once or twice. So it was a good fight. But I can see how people can say that. I can see a lot of people thinking that because Tony Harrison's more of a high-profile fighter than this guy. You know what I'm saying? So they're expecting Tony Harrison to go in there and take over, and it just wasn't like that. This kid was actually a pretty good fighter. You know what I mean? He was tough and determined too. So, but interesting fight. I'm not mad at a draw. If you're gonna pick a winner, you don't want to rob anybody. So I'm not mad at a draw.
Yeah, a lot of people now wanting Tony Harrison to move up in weight. Like I say, I didn't see it. I appreciate you filling in for me there, Eddie. But yeah, he's a friend of the show. He's a former world champion. I think a lot of people, like you say, probably expected more from him. Yeah, he's in a bit of a sticky patch, I guess, at the minute. Obviously losing his world title. And yeah, it hasn't been a smooth comeback quite clearly there. Moving out now though to the Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Hollywood, Florida, USA. This one was on DAZN. I'm of course going to start with the undercard. A few losses actually for undefeated DAZN / Matchroom Eddie Hearn prospects. I'm going to start here with Ofer Jones III. Really good amateur, but he lost here. He's now 5-1 with a draw. He took on Jorge Castaneda, who's now 14-1. It was a majority decision for Castaneda over 8 rounds there. Also on the card, Mohamed Rasul Majidov, now 3-1. He was knocked out in the first round against Andrei Fedosov, who of course I think was coming off quite a layoff. I think it was like since 2019 since he last boxed, and he last lost the fight, I think it was in 2013, to Bryant Jennings. I think he got stopped, but anyway, he was in there against Majidov, a really good amateur. Majidov was down twice in that first round, and he was unable to continue due to an ankle injury. It was freakish. I think that Fedosov, I believe, was a 10-1 underdog, but if you was to have bet on the first round knockout, I mean, that was like 100-1 or something. So huge upset. It just goes to show that anything can happen in boxing, especially heavyweight boxing. Moving up the card once again, I'm going to now discuss Carlos Gongora getting a knockout in the 8th round against Christopher Pearson. Gongora now 20-0. It was for the IBO World Super Middleweight title. Christopher Pearson now 17-3. I think that one was from like a cut, I believe. I think Pearson had a cut. That's pretty much the open and shut of that one. But the main event, that's what we're here for. Demetrius Andrade now 30-0, the perfect resume, the perfect record, I should say. A defense there of his WBO World Middleweight title. Liam Williams in the other corner, very game, very gutsy. He was down in the second round. Liam Williams now 23-3 with a draw. Is he going to be a nearly man, or is he going to actually win a world title at some point? I'm going to fly through these rounds before I come to Eddie, of course. First round I gave to Andrade. I couldn't believe how aggressive he was straight away, winding up with big uppercuts. Not really the typical start that we're expecting to see from Andrade, who for me is a bit of a slow starter usually. He came out with the cap that read War, so it was like some kind of tribute to Marvin Hagler, the fast start here. I don't think Williams was really hurt much at any point in that first round, but Andrade was able to land the backhand pretty much at will. He looked so fast as well. It was a big round for Andrade. Round 2, like I say, down went Williams. The gap in class was incredible to see, just unfolding in front of your eyes. I know how good Andrade is. I picked him to win the fight, but I was stunned at the difference in ring IQ. Williams was just marching forward, walking into shots. It was a straight left, right. So like a 1-2 that put Williams down from that southpaw stance. He was in a world of trouble as well, Liam Williams. He was getting completely outclassed and out-hustled. Round 3, a much better round for Williams. Close round, I'd say. Maybe even a Williams round. Andrade didn't look as comfortable. Round 4, a definite Williams round for me. He landed a number of big looking shots that Andrade was trying his best to block, but Andrade was looking a little bit unsteady on his feet, I felt. Round 5, a really interesting round, but a round for Andrade in my opinion. Round 6 and 7 I gave to Andrade, especially round 6. He was really switched on, Andrade. Round 8, Andrade was starting to get into a bit of a rhythm. He was looking comfortable again. Williams was trying to goad Andrade with words in the ring. Andrade was still in full control though. Round 9, for me, a round for Williams. He hurt Andrade, it looked like, with big straight right hand. It put Andrade back onto the ropes and he was on unsteady legs. It was definitely encouraging signs late on for Williams. Round 10, for me, another round for Williams. Andrade was starting to hold as much as he could. Williams looked the much fresher of the two at that point. On my card, Williams needed the knockout though. I of course didn't know how the judges had it, which was what really mattered. But it was, it was getting to be a really interesting end to the fight because you didn't really know what was going to happen, even in the 10th round. Round 11, a closer round, but I still edged it to Williams. And round 12, I gave it to Andrade. I think he closed the show nicely in the 12th. He didn't leave anything in the ring. And I looked at the in-play betting in round 12. I saw it was 66-1 for Williams to win the fight by any method. So basically I was thinking, wow, these scorecards are going to be very wide, I guess. Or maybe I'm seeing it too lenient towards Williams, despite having a bet on, by the way, for Andrade to win on points. I thought that was a very safe bet, which it turned out to be. But credit to Liam Williams. He's really, really such an improved fighter. I don't think Andrade's style was any good for him. I still think Williams can win a world title, but obviously not against someone like Andrade. I'd like to see him in there with maybe some of the other champions. Remember, this guy probably can still make 154. He's not big for 160. He moved up there. I think he could probably still make 154. But definitely he has a chance against some of the other guys. I'd like to see him in there with someone like, dare I say, a Golovkin or like a Murata. I think he could probably beat Murata. There's some serious guys he can beat out there, but Andrade just showed his class, man, and he doesn't always get to show us his class every time, but this style played into his hands. I think it was a little bit bull and matador type stuff, and once again, it was nice to see Andrade do his stuff, because Andrade is a guy that gets a lot of, I think, not hate necessarily, but he doesn't really get the accolades he deserves. He doesn't really get the plaudits. He doesn't always have the most fan-friendly style, but for me, when he was switched on during the fight, he was on another planet, and we don't always see him, that riled up, that interested, I feel, is a fair thing to say. So, yeah, I want to see Liam Williams come again. Credit to him, friend of the show. And Andrade, I mean, he can show that when he's focused, he can really pull away. And I'd love to see him in a huge fight. I'd love to see him in with a Billy Joe Saunders still, but obviously that's not going to happen. I'd like to see him in with a Golovkin, a Charlo, and maybe the winner of Billy Joe and Canelo, Any of those guys I'd love to see him in with. But anyway, that's enough from me. Eddie, what did you make of it, my friend?
Oh, man, it was turned out to be an interesting fight early on. It looked like he was going to get him out of there pretty early. And I don't want to say I was surprised, because I really didn't know a lot about Liam Williams before the fight. But when I looked at him, and I know fighters like him, like I've seen fighters like that in front of me as an amateur and even early on as a pro. Like when I say early on, I'm not saying that he's not technically good, but I'm just saying he's a tough guy. He's gonna try to be there all night, even if he's hurt. He's gonna still be switched on. He's still gonna be coming forward. He's still gonna make it a tough go of it. He does have when you think of guys who fight like him, and because he's coming forward, it seems like he's walking on the shots and all that stuff. And yes, to a degree, it is true, but he had no other opportunity. He's not going to be able to fight with Demetrius Andrade at range at any point, even if he's a crazy hard puncher. He doesn't have a chance in hell in a fight like that. So the way he was fighting, though he took a lot of punishment, he got hurt a lot of times. He put himself in position to be knocked out a bunch of times. Credit to him, because he's so tough and able to deal with it. But that was his only opportunity to even have a fight, have a chance down the stretch to win. It was funny. I was listening to I was at Joe Engel, right? His trainer in the corner, and he was saying like 8, 9, 10. He was expecting at that point for Andrade to get a little tired and to be worn down from all of the roughhouse tactics, which I think was extremely smart. Showed a great IQ for not only Liam Williams, but for his corner to really have a plan like that. You know you're not going to be able to box with Demetrius Andrade. It's not going to happen. But obviously the star of the night was Andrade, and for him to be able to continue to keep his composure in the face of all of that, that adversity, because he brought adversity. This guy was coming to win for sure, and he was not backing off. He wasn't sitting on the back foot waiting or just taking shots. He was trying to make every moment in the fight count, and that right there showed the class that Demetrius Andrade had. Those fights aren't easy. Those fights are absolutely not easy. Fighting guys that you were supposed to be worlds better than is not necessarily easy, because sometimes guys will just literally skate through and just be all defensive and not let you look good and make the fight ugly. Or you'll have a situation where this guy's coming to win and he's going to make the fight ugly. He's going to hit you on the arms, hit you on the back of the head, pull you down, knock you down, grab you, slam you, all those types of things. And you have to have not only the conditioning, but you also got to have the mindset and enough toughness to not only be willing to stand there at times, but to deal with what he's bringing in his onslaught. You know what I mean? It's amazing to see a kid like this. I remember I met him before he had his first professional fight, and real young, real bright-eyed kid, real cool, real nice. But I could see it though. You could kind of see it. He got a little fire in him, and now seeing him, as a champion and fighting, at this level and being as dominant as he can be is a refreshing thing. And I'm just hoping that this is only I don't say the beginning for him, but this is where he starts to hit his peak and he starts to fight. I really agree with you, Joe. I really want to see him get some of these big fights, and I feel like he can win them. I really feel like he's on the level of these top guys, and he just needs to get his opportunity, and I think it'll be a good thing to see.
No, well said, Eddie, well said. Moving out now, though, to the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia, USA. This one, of course, was the Triller card, the Circus card. I'm going to start with the undercard. Now, did you see any of this at all, Eddie, by the way? Because it's just crazy.
I did not.
Okay.
One of my fighters, Kurt, he told me how bad it was.
Yeah, so we had really, really bad comedy sketches. We had Ric Flair hosting a slapping match between two big fat guys. We had live music from Doja Cat, Saweetie, Justin Bieber, Snoop Dogg, Ice Cube. The camera kept going over to the commentators and random people during the actual fight. Like, it would pan away from the damn fight. You can hear punches being landed in the background, but they're like filming the guys in the commentary box. Steve Cunningham, I'm going to get to that in a minute. He was dreadful. I hate to say it. Joe Fournier's opponent literally couldn't even throw a straight right hand or a jab. Snoop Dogg, he kept doing these weird comedy spoof things and smoking weed and drinking alcohol with Al Bernstein. Oscar De La Hoya turned up drunk as hell. You had Teofimo Lopez in the crowd with George Kambosos. They're fighting each other. They got them up there to talk some trash. You had Chuck Liddell in the crowd. You had Ivan Redkach milking that punch, saying it was low. He was rolling around on the floor, even though he got hit in the in his side, kind of like it was a body shot. It was a legal body shot that Regis Prograis landed. Redkach was rolling around the floor. His girlfriend actually got in the ring in the middle of the fight. I've never seen that before. He ended up getting pulled out on a stretcher. There was one point where she was fiddling around with his shorts, and one of the commentators made a joke that perhaps he's going to get a boner. Michael Buffer turned up quite late. There was a 12-foot tall robot that was dancing behind Jake Paul when he was walking to the ring. Jake Paul got out the ring after he won his fight. He jumped over the announcement table and took a drink from Snoop Dogg. He had like a bottle of his own alcohol and started downing it. It was just absolutely mental.
This is where boxing is. This boxing should not have had anything to do with this. Seriously.
Yeah.
This
was crazy.
Look, boxing got enough problems, enough problems. There's bad decisions here. There's this and that. There's all these, the money issues. There's just so many things going on. Boxing didn't need this to be like that. Come on, man. It's a shame. It really is.
Yeah,
I ain't even hate to hear it.
yeah. I mean, even Oscar De La Hoya talking about his comeback at age 56 or 58, whatever he is. He's been out the ring 14 years. He was talking about his reasons to come back. He's going to fight the best fighters. Apparently, he was drunk as hell. He was shouting, saying that Steve Cunningham doesn't have a chin because he's got 9 losses, even though Steve Cunningham's got a brilliant chin. It was just absolutely crazy. Going through the fights though, Joe Fournier, friend of the show, was on a couple weeks ago. He boxed this guy Ray Con, who is this reggaeton singer. He was absolutely awful, Ray Con. He got dropped, I think, twice in the fight. Then he retired on his store at the end of round 2. Joe Fournier now 9-0. Really, he's 10-0, but 9-0 officially, or whatever you want to call it, with 9 KOs. Steve Cunningham, I cannot believe he went the distance with Frank Mir. He was giving away £70, by the way, but Frank Mir, making his boxing debut, went the distance with, a former world elite fighter in Steve Cunningham. So yeah, that didn't look too good for boxing. Cunningham now 30-9 with a draw. Jake Paul, obviously, he knocked out Ben Askren in like, I don't know, a minute and a half. That was quite, I'm not believing in that hype, but that really was quite embarrassing for UFC guys, I think. To Ben Askren, I think, talked about never being like rocked or hurt in his life, apart from one time when he fought this guy or whatever, some other guy, and he gets done in like half a round by a YouTuber. That was quite embarrassing. Regis Prograis, friend of the show, he was like, probably involved in the one real fight on the card. He moved to 26-1. It was a TKO in round 6. In the end, because like I say, Red Catch went down. The referee called it a low blow, which was weird because they showed the replay. It was nowhere near, nowhere near low. It was perfectly legal. He laid on the floor. He was rolling around. It looked like he was in excruciating pain. He went to get back up, then he collapsed back down. He really made a meal out of it. Honestly, they should have gave him like an Oscar right there. But yeah, he was awful, and even though the referee called it low, the referee gave him 5 minutes. He didn't get up. And then he was stretchered out the ring. All the fighters and stuff on Twitter were saying like we're going crazy at Red Catch. Like, we saw what happened. Don't do that stuff. Blah blah blah. And then it actually went down on the night as a technical decision win for Regis Prograis, but then they overturned it to a TKO win after that, I think the following day. So that is that one. But anyway, the less said the better on that crazy night there. There is 2 more cards to mention. There was a fight that took place on Tuesday of this week, so 2 days ago. There's 2 more fight cards to mention, both involving guys with the same surname. So I'm going to start here on the Tuesday. This one took place at the Shrine Exposition Center in Los Angeles, California. Former world champion Marcus Brown returned to the ring. He's now 24-1. It's his first time fighting since his loss to Jean Pascal back in August 2019. He stepped in and went 10 rounds against Denis Grachev, who's now 20-13 with a draw. Grachev, quite a tough guy, doesn't really get stopped often, even though he was coming off 2 losses back-to-back himself. He's been in the ring probably 3 or 4 times since Marcus Brown last boxed. Actually, he's been in the ring, I think, 5 or 6 times since he last boxed. But yeah, he doesn't get stopped often. And, Marcus Brown didn't get him out of there, which, isn't that surprising. But yeah, I tell you what, this Denis Grachev, he actually got stopped in 1 round once upon a time, back in 2013, by Edwin Rodriguez, who you know really well, Eddie. So, cool stuff there. But, yeah, anyway, good stuff for Marcus Brown, back to winning ways. And then the other Brown that we were going to speak of is, well, I don't even know where to start or how to describe this, but going to Australia, this one took place yesterday. At the Wynn Entertainment Centre in New South Wales, Australia. So over here we had Paul Galen, I'm not sure. He's a former rugby player. I actually thought he was making his debut, but I got that completely wrong. He was actually 10-0 with a draw, but he hadn't boxed anyone of note at all. Like his best, on paper, his best win against a guy who, had like the best looking record of a guy that he beat was a guy who was 12-5. And he gets in there against Lucas Brown, 29-2 with 25 KOs. Obviously, his only losses came to Dave Allen and Dillian Whyte, and he is stopped in 1 round by Paul Galen, or whatever the hell the guy's name is. Absolutely embarrassing, I have to say it. And Lucas Brown's a friend of the show. I really have a soft spot for Lucas Brown. If he really did go to Chechnya and knock out Ruslan Shagayev in a fight where he was dropped himself, if he got back up and knocked him out and wasn't on illegal substances, which they think he was and he swears he didn't, and I kind of believe him, and they stripped him because they found stuff in his system and he said, it was all lies or whatever. I actually believe him. I actually think that he went from being a bouncer, being a doorman, to becoming a heavyweight world champion, or getting a version of the title, if you like. I think that was an inspiration. I think that's incredible. I really have a soft spot for the guy. But since getting stripped, he has had an awful run, and this really, this puts a full stop to it. I think he needs to retire. This guy was 39. I know that Lucas Brown's 42, and he's obviously old himself, but this guy's only 3 years younger. It's not like this guy's 20 years younger, a 22-year-old guy on the come up. This is a guy who's 39 who came to the sport late, who hadn't boxed anyone, and he's done it in a round. And it was bad because the commentators, and I'm going to do a really bad Australian accent here, but Lucas Brown was down twice, by the way, in that first round, and he didn't beat the count on the second time. And the commentators were saying that Paul Galen is now, I'm not even going to do the Australian accent, but they were saying he's a legit boxer, and the other commentator was saying there's no doubt about it, mate. And they said Dillian Whyte needed rounds, Dave Allen needed rounds, he only did it with a perfect body shot, and this guy Paul Galen has just done it in 1 round. I just couldn't believe what I was hearing. Like, come on, this is terrible. Lucas Brown, he's fallen so hard from winning a world title to where he is now. It is terrible. I like I said, I've got a lot of time for Lucas. I really like the guy, but that is it. This is bad. This is bad for the sport at this point, and it's bad for his health. He needs to forget it, man. Surely there's no fights for him now. Could you imagine if they actually tried to make him against David Price or something like that? Please, don't get any ideas. Anyway, that's it for the review part. We're ending on a bit of a negative one there, unfortunately. Like I say, the one interview is going to be at the very end of the show, but this is the end of part 1, and when we resume in a couple seconds, we will be beginning part 2 with the news part of the show. Okay, now it's time for part 2 on this week's show. This part, of course, the news part of the show. We're going to start here with a brilliant lineup that Showtime and PBC have announced. So all these fight nights are going to be on Showtime. Eddie, there's some great fights that's been announced here. So we're going to start here with May the 15th. Luis Nery, the undefeated WBC Super Bantamweight World Champion, takes on the undefeated Brandon Figueroa. That is a brilliant fight. I absolutely love that fight there at 122. And by the way, Stephen Fulton will be boxing the winner of that fight, which they're trying to do on September 11th. So Luis Nery against Brandon Figueroa. The winner takes on Stephen Fulton, and that one, of course, will be a unification fight. May the 29th, Nordinu Bali takes on Nonito Donaire. Jamal Charlo takes on Juan Montiel. That's on June the 19th. That one, by the way, is the worst fight of the lot. I hate to say it. On pay-per-view on June 26th, Gervonta Davis takes on Mario Barrios. Both guys undefeated there. And on the undercard of that one, Erickson Lubin against Jason Banana Rosario. July the 3rd, Chris Colbert takes on Yuriorkis Gamboa for the WBA Super Featherweight Interim title. July 17th, Jamel Charlo takes on Brian Castano, a guy with a perfect record aside from his draw against Erislandi Lara. He's a great fighter, Castano, with wins over the likes of Errol Spence in the amateurs. August 14th, Guillermo Rigondo takes on John Real Casimero for the WBO Bantamweight World title. August 29th is the final one. David Benavidez takes on Jose Uzcategui. That one's for the WBC Super Middleweight title elimination. That's an eliminator there. To close in on the WBC title. David Benavidez, I think, is going to become like a 3 or 4 time super middleweight world champion. Well, actually, Canelo's got the belt at the minute, so I'm not sure if it's going to be that smooth. And like I say, September 11th, Stephen Fulton takes on the winner of Luis Nery and Brandon Figueroa there for a unification. Brilliant fights there. Another fight's been announced, this one to take place in the UK on June the 5th. Daniel Dubois coming off that loss to Joe Joyce. He steps in for the WBA Interim Heavyweight World title. I'm not sure how they've managed to deliver this one, but he takes on Bogdan Dinu, who of course I think lost his O to Jarrell Big Baby Miller, I believe it was. Anyway, that should be an easy night's work there for Daniel Dubois. We have Elwin Soto defending his world title against Katsunari Takayama. That's going to be the chief support bout on the undercard of Canelo against Billy Joe Saunders, May 8th. So Matchroom have announced that one there. Anthony Yarde was supposed to be returning to the ring this weekend, but he has had to withdraw from his fight. Not quite sure why. I think it's actually something to do with Anthony Yarde's tooth. I think he's got some kind of problem with one of his teeth or something like that. So he's out, unfortunately, of that one. It was going to be nice to see him and Callum Johnson on the same card, but that's not happening. He won't be fighting. And the final piece of news, if anything else develops from now to the end of the show, I'll mention it at the very end. But we have here Terry Harper will be defending her WBC and IBO Super Featherweight World titles against the undefeated WBA World Champion Hyun Mi Choi. That's going to be in Manchester on May the 15th, and on the undercard we've also got Joshua Buatsi and a bunch of other fights on the card. I think 3 European title fights, if I'm not mistaken, involving the likes of Tommy McCarthy. We've got Lerone Richards against Giovanni De Carolis, and we've got Gamal Yafai against Jason Cunningham. So a couple decent fights on the undercard there. Jason Cunningham seems like he's boxed absolutely everyone. But anyway, that's it for the news part of the show. Moving on now to the preview part. We're going to start here with a card that actually takes place later tonight at the Landers Center in Mississippi. Over here, Sharif Rahman, son of Hassim Rahman. He is 4-0. He's in a 4-rounder. No opponent just yet. Oh, it's getting on. Tomorrow night in Spain at the Palau Olympic Val de Hebron in Barcelona, Catalonia. Over here, I think it's going to be on DAZN. Over here, we have Kerman Leharaga, 31-2, in there against Jez Smith, 12-2 with a draw over 10 rounds. All the best to Jez Smith. Should be an interesting fight. Jez Smith's a lot better than his record suggests, but you know, Kerman Leharaga is a bit of a beast actually. So I'm not sure Jez Smith has got enough, but I'd love to see him do it. Also on the card, Sandor Martin, 37-2, one of Spain's best fighters, pound for pound, takes on K Prosper, who's 14-1 with a draw. That one's for the EBU European Super Lightweight title there, over 12 rounds. All the best to K Prosper, who is trained by Xavier Miller, the same guy that trains Dillian White, friend of the show, friend of mine. And also on the card, Andoni Gargo, 24-3 with 3 draws. That's a 12-rounder there. Gargo's been in there with the likes of Lee Selby. He takes on friend of the show, Gavin McDonald, 22-2 with 2 draws. That one, of course, is for the EBU European Featherweight title. So yeah, all the best to Gavin McDonnell in that one. Should be an interesting fight. Probably goes the distance there. So hopefully Gavin McDonnell gets a fair shake on the cards. Moving out now to the convention center in Jinawan. In Japan over here, Daigo Higa, former world champion, now 17-1 with a draw. 17 of his wins have all come by knockout. His one loss came by knockout, and the only time he went the distance was when it was a draw. He's in a 12-rounder for the WBO Asia Pacific Bantamweight title against Ryosuke Nishida, who's 3-0. Moving out now to York Hall, Bethnal Green, London. This one's going to be on BT Sport over here. We've got the undefeated heavyweight 5-0, 5 KOs, David Adelaide. No opponent just yet for him. We have Callum Johnson, 18-1, fighting for the vacant WBO Global Light Heavyweight title against Emil Markic, who's 32-2. Quite a padded record there. Like I say, no Anthony Yard on the card, which is a bit of a shame. And the main event is an absolute cracker. Denzel Bentley, 14-0 with a draw. He puts his British middleweight title on the line against the Commonwealth middleweight champion, the also undefeated Felix Cash, who's 13-0. That's over 12 rounds. It, of course, is Eddie Hearn against Frank Warren, really, because Eddie Hearn's got Felix Cash and Frank Warren has got Denzel Bentley. It's a fight we didn't think was going to end up happening, but very rarely we do get to see the two promoters work together, and this is one of those times. It's going to be a cracker, I'm sure. Moving out now to the States for the final card to mention. It takes place at the Silver Spurs Arena in Florida. Over here we have Emmanuel Navarrete, 32-1, defending his WBO World Featherweight title against Christopher Diaz, 26-2. That's over 12 rounds. And the young knockout kid who is taking out every man in the first round. He's managed to do it all 16 times. He takes on, I didn't even say his name, you should know it by now, Edgar Berlanga. He's in an 8-rounder against Damond Nicholson, who's 23-3 with a draw, the man from Maryland. I remember Damond Nicholson boxing Jesse Hart, and I think he wanted a way out of that fight, if I remember correctly. So yeah, I don't like his chances against Berlanga. I think he's going to feel the power early, possibly in the first round, and I don't think will last very long. But can he become the first man to take Berlanga into the second round? We shall see. What an exciting fighter Berlanga is. You've got to tune in. It is it always, is exciting. It always kind of brings you that I don't know what the word is, that what am I looking for? What's the word there, Eddie? You want to watch a guy to see if someone could take him into the second round. I guess it's thrilling. I don't know what the word is right now. That anticipation. Can he do it?
Yeah. That's a good word. Just to kind of see if it can happen. I mean, it's crazy to think see if we can get a guy that could actually take a fighter into the second round. It's not that common that people get knockouts like that. That's impressive. That just shows how good of a fighter he really is and how powerful he really is too. So, hey, you know what I mean? I'm looking forward to seeing it if not only can he get put in the second round, but maybe even actually have a round where he may lose a round. Think about that. He's never been out of the first round, so obviously he's never been in danger of losing a round. So imagine that. You know what I mean? Adversity for him would be, I guess, having somebody throw some punches back, I guess. But, yeah, he just seemed like a special fighter right now.
Yeah, all those judges that turn up to judge his fights, 3 judges. So, what's he had? He's had 16 fights, so 3 judges each time. So that's 48 judges that have been paid for doing absolutely nothing. They didn't even need to bring a pen and paper with them. How funny is that? All the best to Edgar Berlanga, and I will be tuning in just for the excitement, just for the anticipation. Can Damond Nicholson take him into round 2, into uncharted territory, as they say? But anyway, that's it for the reviewing. That's it for the news. That's it for the preview part of the show. Just before we wrap up part 2, the final thing to do is to welcome our sole guest on this week's show. It's a lengthy interview. It's very in-depth. It's a guy that has shared many, many rounds with my co-host, Mr. Eddie Chambers. And that man, of course, is the former 2-time heavyweight world champion, Mr. Tim Witherspoon. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the former 2-time heavyweight champion of the world. It is, of course, Mr. Tim Witherspoon. Tim, welcome to the show, my friend.
I prefer you just call me Tim. I know you just saying Mr. or Tim, but that's cool. Tim is cool. I feel at home.
There we go. So, Tim, I'd like to start where I always start these kinds of interviews. Tell me, where did your boxing story start off? What's your earliest memory, perhaps, ever putting on a pair of gloves for the first time, maybe?
Oh, yeah. I was real young when we put on some gloves, but that was only for play. I would me and my brothers and a lot of my friends were groomed to be American football, baseball, and basketball players. Boxing really wasn't in the picture when I was young. And when I first really seriously put on gloves or thought about it, I was 21 years old. So all before that, it was other sports. I was athletic, and my god brother, Tommy Wade, he passed away, God bless him. He taught a lot of young people in our neighborhoods. Well, there was mainly like about 7 of us, but then everybody in the neighborhood he was good to, but he emphasized on getting us ready. Me and the Mighty Crusaders, they called us at the time. We was young kids.
And of course, you had that really brief amateur career. Am I right in saying you only had about 5 or 6 amateur fights, Tim?
Yeah, 7. I thought it was 5 or 6, and then they told me it was 7. My last fight was with Marvis Frazier, Joe Frazier's son. Yeah. These guys had like 80 and 90 amateur fights, or I'm maybe exaggerating, maybe 60 or 50. I only had like 6 fights, and then I fought Joe Frazier's son, and so I lacked experience. He got a decision. And but then when I turned pro, a lot of people stayed away from me. I turned pro, and we'll get into that.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously, you're noted as being a sparring partner for Muhammad Ali. Had you made your pro debut at that point, or were you still sparring him when you was amateur, Tim?
I don't think I made my pro debut. I don't think because I was sparring with Matthew Saad Muhammad, who was the light heavyweight champ of the world, and I was up at Muhammad Ali's training camp training, and that's when Ali came in. So I think I only had amateur fights.
Wow.
And I was sparring with Saad Muhammad, and then Muhammad Ali just busted in the camp out of nowhere. He stopped us from training because here these cars pulled up. He said, "Who is that?" I was boxing, and then Ali got out the car. I didn't see it, and he opened up the door, and then everything stopped. Everything stopped, and we started talking to him. So I don't think I had any fights when I was Muhammad Ali's sparring partner.
Wow. And Tim, before we get onto your pro career, I want to ask you, have you got any cool Muhammad Ali stories?
Oh, wow. Muhammad Ali, I do. Well, me and Aaron Snowell, this one is like, me and Aaron Snowell, who was my second, Slim Robinson was my trainer and teacher. But Aaron Snowell went on to train with Mike Tyson, Timmy Austin. He helped make them become champions. And so me and him, we was after we trained with Muhammad Ali, I trained sparring with him. So we was like cool with Ali, and Ali told us to follow Veronica. We would go down to the club on a Friday, just not every Friday. We go down there sometimes. It was called the Alley, this disco. So Ali told us to go down there and make sure, see if everything cool down there, right? So me and Aaron Snowell went down there. We were spies. So we saw her dancing with this boxer named, I forgot his name, Mike or something. Well, anyway, we saw them dancing, so we drove back up to the hill and got Muhammad. And then we got in the car and we drove Muhammad down to it was called the Alley. It was a discotheque. So we came to the front door. We went in the front door, and so we went around looking for her, and we went and found her. And then we came back and said, "Ali, look, she's right over there." They were dancing. They were slow dancing. So as soon as Ali walked towards the big crowd, there was a big crowd. They saw him, and just like the water parted in Moses, and when the story about Moses parted the water, that's how the people they reacted. And Ali walked straight up to him and her. So we went back to the camp, and I heard that he had a big fight and argument in there, and the next day we sparred with the guy. We beat up on him. So so that was one of the good stories that that there, it was really cool being his lookout for him. So he went to Indonesia with me when I fought over in Indonesia. He was down in Georgia when I fought Tony Tubbs. He came down there, he sparred with me there. He sparred me when I fought Bruno, I think. And Larry Holmes, I think. So it was a great experience working with Muhammad Ali. But that was we was like his spies.
Now that's an amazing story, man. If I was that guy, as soon as you guys came in the front door, I'd have been straight out the back door. I think that was the best thing he should have done.
Yeah, but he didn't know that we were doing that.
Yeah. You were good spies.
And it was cool. Yeah, you don't do that. You don't do that to the champ.
No,
you dancing with his girl, and it was alleged that he was trying to, do other things, but that wasn't going to work. Yeah. Got a lot of nerve, huh?
Yeah, a lot of nerve, man. Like I say, he should have run straight out that back door when he saw Muhammad. Getting on to your to your excellent pro career, you turned pro on October 30th, 1979, in your hometown of Pennsylvania. Do you remember much about your pro debut? You boxed Joe Adams. It took you one round to get him out of there. Yeah. I was real nervous. It was in that it was a 69th Street Arena. It was in Upper Darby. That was Upper Darby. And the arena usually be like roller skating ring where they had roller skate and activity, teams. So we got to the arena. It was my first fight. I was nervous as hell. I was nervous. I did have one of the best trainers that ever lived. One of them. He's one of the best, Slim Robinson. And but at the time, he was my trainer, and I knew he was good. But I didn't really sink it. It didn't sink in until I started winning the fights. But I was in the dressing room. I was the walkout bout. I was the walkout bout. It was a whole lot of other fights in front of me, and I was nervous as hell. And to top it off, the Olympic champ Terrell Biggs came in near the end. I'm nervous. I'm fighting this guy who was way bigger than me. Joey Adams was way bigger than me. I think about 70 pounds heavier. And I'm up here waiting. I was just dying, sitting there waiting. And then to top it off, Terrell Biggs comes in. And I'm sitting there. And hey, congratulations, Tim. Not congratulations. This your first one, man. Do well. And then right after that, they came and got us. We went out there. I was looking at Joey Adams. I said, ooh, this is a big dude. But I got him out of there the first round. And then a lot of but a lot of pressure just relieved. I was happy. And as I started getting fights, I was nervous, all the fights, but then eventually, as my skills started getting better, this nervousness started leaving earlier than usual. Yeah, and no, I like to always ask about guys' pro debuts because it's surprising to some of us when we think, wow, you were nervous and you went on to obviously be such a great fighter. It's interesting. I want to just briefly talk about this one. I was going to perhaps skip this one out, but I want to touch on it here. If we jump forward to February 7th, 1981, you box the undefeated at the time, Marvin Stinson. Now, Stinson was a really good amateur, and like I say, he was undefeated when you boxed him that night in Atlantic City. The first time as well that you went 10 rounds as a pro. Tell me what you remember about that night there. It was probably your biggest win at the time, Tim.
Yeah, that was, and I felt bad because I heard about him. I knew of him. I knew of Marvin Stinson. He was a really nice person, but we had to fight. And really the fight, he had experience. And the fight was, I'm not going to say it was easy, but in a way it was. You know what I'm saying? So, by the time I fought him, it was a hard fight. It was a hard fight because he had more experience than me, and I think I almost stopped him maybe twice in the fight. And here's a guy that has more experience than me and everything, but I won. I got the decision, and after the fight, I felt bad because I found out that he was in the line for a title shot or a big money fight with I forgot who it was, but I bumped him out of fighting a big fight, and he was going to make a lot of money, and I felt kind of bad about that. But it was a challenging fight. I was still learning. He was more experienced than me. It was just that I know that my trainer, when he picked the fights, that I would be ready for him. He always was he was always, well, you could do it, Tim, you could do it. And I was doubting a couple of times. Not that I couldn't really beat him, but is it too soon? Just like when we fought Larry Holmes.
Yeah, and again,
I thought it was too soon. And it wasn't.
Yeah, no, for sure. And again, only 10 months later, you gather a bigger win. You box the eventual WBC Cruiserweight World Champion, the undefeated Alfonso Ratliff, at the Playboy Hotel and Casino. You knocked him out in 7 rounds. A brilliant win again.
Oh, yeah. That was a crossroad fight. In your boxing history and boxers in their history, there's always crossroad fights where you have to fight somebody to move on to bigger and better things. And a lot of times you build your boxer up and some tough fights and then, some easy fights. But this was definitely a crossroad fight. And this was a fight that's going to determine whether I'm going to go on to get a belt or go on to bigger and better things. And so I had to be in shape, and I had to win this one. So he moved up to heavyweight and try to, and we did a lot of mouthing back and forth, all the hoopla before the fight. He was aggressive. I was aggressive. He did his skills. I did my skills, and I finally caught him in the 7th round and ended the fight. So the fight proved who was the better boxer and better champion to be. But now he's one of my best friends. He's one of my best friends. We keep in touch, and that's what's good about boxing. You get to be friends afterwards. So he's a good friend. He's a good friend right now.
No,
but I knocked him out. I felt really good.
That's really cool. After that, obviously, you beat Luis Acosta. Then you go on to fight former heavyweight world title challenger Ronaldo Snipes. I think it was 7 months earlier, he lost to Larry Holmes. He was able to drop Larry, but, Larry ended up stopping him. Here you are, though, in the opposite corner. You beat him by majority decision after 10 at the Caesars Palace, June the 5th, 1982. Tell me about that one, Tim.
Yes. I wasn't worried about him. I had good defense, but he do got a good right hand because that's what he dropped Larry Holmes with. But he ran a lot. So when the bell rung, whoever was in his corner, didn't give him good advice. I was young. I was ready. I didn't want to lose the fight, but their strategy was wrong. So he ran the whole fight. And I had to chase him. And he had hard punch. He hit me a couple of times, and I said, whoa. And after the fight, I seen he got big hands, too. So I think they had a strategy that didn't work for him for that fight because he kept running and trying to hit and move. I think he would have did a lot better slowing down and try to trade punches but have a good defense. So I do believe that I was going to win that fight anyway, but their strategy wasn't really on top because he ran the whole fight, and I think that's what took a lot from the judges.
And the crazy thing about that fight is in Snipes' very next fight, he went on to beat Trevor Berbick, of course. And your next fight obviously came against Larry Holmes for the WBC heavyweight world title. At the time, Larry Holmes was 42-0. The fight takes place in Vegas, May 20th, 1983. You lose a split decision after 12 rounds. Did you feel you did enough to win?
Yeah, I did. We prepared. Matter of fact, Alfonso Ratliff and all these heavyweights that Don King had, we were all in the training camp pushing me because when my trainer Slim Robinson first said to me, Don King said it first. He said, "Yo, you're gonna fight Larry Holmes." And then when it was presented to Slim, I said, "Yo, Slim, ain't it kind of too soon?" my trainer said, man, you're going to whip his behind. He said, believe me, Tim, you're going to whip him. He said, just listen to me, and let's do the right things, get in shape, and you're going to whip him. And as soon as he said that, because he was my confidence then. Here I am, a young guy, just coming in, everybody else with all these other fights, and I needed a good trainer, or else I wouldn't have made that far. So, yeah, we was training at Don King's camp, everybody chopping wood, running every day, eating properly. Everybody wanted me to win. So we flew to Vegas. And a lot of Larry Holmes' tactics was to try to scare me. But as soon as I got to the hotel, anytime I was around his presence, he was trying to intimidate me, but he didn't realize where I came from. I had a lot of supporters, South Philadelphia, not too far from the Italian market where Rocky made the movie. Sylvester Stallone, where he made the movie in the Italian market, is only 5 minutes, 10 minutes walking, 5 minutes by car. The steps where Rocky ran up was only 15 minutes away by car. The neighborhood I came from had Italian, Irish, Jewish, blacks, and had a multicultural. But mainly the neighborhood that I lived in was like blacks. It was very few whites, and I had to represent. I was going to never let him back me up. I was going to never let him, because I had to not go back home. They still love me if I get knocked out or anything or beat. But I know I had good people behind me in the area. So I'm the real Rocky. I was a 2-time heavyweight champ from Philadelphia. And I'm the real, in real life, the Rocky. He tried to intimidate me, and it didn't work. Because I know that when I go back home, I had to look in a lot of faces, even though they would support me, and they didn't care whether I lose or win, but I didn't want to go home a loser. So what Larry Holmes did wrong was he was trying to intimidate me in the public, in front of people, and I did not back off. 60 Minutes is a very prestigious show that comes on in America. 60 Minutes, they have all kind of stuff on their show on Sundays, and they were filming Larry Holmes. I happened to be down in the lobby. With David Bay, Mitch Green, a lot of other people were just standing down the lobby in the Dunes Hotel. And so Larry stopped on the cameras and came over and tried to intimidate me and everything. So I stood up to him right in front of the camera and said, come on, let's go right now. I had a little drink in my hand, and I was like, okay, let's go now. So I started walking towards him, the cameras was on and everything, and then everybody got in the middle of it and broke it up and everything. So he was just trying to intimidate me, and it didn't work, and I think that scared him because it didn't intimidate him. So, this didn't scare Tim. I better think of something else. So then they did other things too, but that didn't work. So I wanted to really win this fight. I wasn't nervous. I wasn't scared or anything. This one fight I wanted to win. This would set me off into my next level. So when the bell rung, it was just me and him. I had better skills than him. He had a good jab. If you look at the fight, I got better skills than him. Defensively, offensively, he had a good jab. We took his jab away. And once we took his strength away, the fight was won. Was won. But all these rounds we was going back and forth. And then that ninth round? When I really came, Slim told me, come on, Tim, you got to put the pressure on him. And I hit him with that overhand right. And then I was inexperienced. I was going too fast. So when I hurt Larry Holmes in the ninth round, inexperience set in because I just tried to throw punches from everywhere. And then when I went back to the corner, my trainer told me, look, you should have took your time, and place your shots. We could have got him out of there. So that was inexperience on that ninth round because I should have took my time. Once you hurt your opponent, that's when you're supposed to relax so you can set your shots off and place them in the right areas so you can get this guy out of there. But I was inexperienced. Larry experienced, weathered the storm, and he lasted that round. And so, it went on to the 12th. He won the decision. It could have went my way. I was happy because I did what I did to the great Larry Holmes. I was satisfied. I felt I won, but I knew I wasn't going to win before the fight unless I knock him out.
And as I said, obviously you sparred Muhammad Ali. Larry Holmes obviously was a sparring partner for Muhammad back in the day. I don't think your paths crossed though, because there was a little difference with the. Or did your paths cross?
Oh no, Larry, when I sparred with Ali, Larry was already champion, and Larry, I was 20 years old, 21. Larry Holmes was already champion. I never crossed his path, but I heard that he was inquiring about me, asking about me. Who's this young new heavyweight? The word was going around in the East End, in Philadelphia. There was people in the boxing gyms were saying that he was concerned about this new heavyweight that's coming out of Philadelphia. So, he even was sending people to, from what I heard, to see what I look like, so he can get an answer, get a good idea of who it was, how did he fight, and all that. So, he was concerned about Tim Witherspoon.
So he was trying to send spies to the master spy.
Yeah. Say that again.
He was trying to send a spy for you, but you was already experienced with being a spy yourself. You can't spy on a spy.
Oh, that's cool. I like the way you add that in there. Yeah. Well, he was nervous. He wanted to reach that Rocky Marciano's record. He wanted to, he didn't want nothing to get in his way. And Don King was giving him tough fights. And that's how the IBF was created, because Larry Holmes didn't want to fight none of the young Turks. After Snipes, and then after me, he wanted the easy ride to beat Rocky Marciano's records. Two things I think that stopped that is he talked about Rocky Marciano negatively. He talked about him, and there was something else he did. I forgot what he did, what slowed him down from him reaching that record. Michael Spinks beat him. So he created the IBF so he can get a clear road to beating Rocky Marciano's record, but it didn't work out that way. And this is what I was told. That's how the IBF was created. Larry Holmes didn't want to fight no more than the young Turks, the young guys like me, and so he went to Bob Lee of the IBF. And they created the IBF, and he's continue on fighting in the IBF, but he still lost.
Yeah, come back.
That's how the IBF was created. Okay, yeah, that's how the IBF was created. Yeah, that's how it was created, because he didn't want to fight no more. And the WBC and the WBA controlled presidents was having him fighting the tough guys. He wanted to control who he could fight, so he can reach Rocky Marciano's record. Now, this is what I was told, and it all feel like there's a lot of truth in it too.
Yeah, it sounds like that to me as well.
Yeah, because he just went over to Bob Lee and IBF and started dealing with them, and not the WBC and the WBA to try to finish the rest of his career off.
Okay, interesting for sure. That obviously lost to Larry. I feel like it kind of turned you into a better fighter, because you go on quite a good run after that. 2 months later, you return to winning ways against the. This is an unusual one, against the convicted murderer turned professional boxer Floyd Cummins. You beat him unanimously. Yeah, you beat him unanimously over 10. Then you box former heavyweight world title challenger James Tillis, and you become the quickest man to stop him by knocking him out in the very first round. Do you want to say a word on either of those fights, Tim?
After the Larry Holmes fight, I only went home with like $50,000. When I knew that if I would have been represented properly, I should have went home with a lot more than that. So I think I got $125,000, and out of that they took all the money. So I went home with like $60,000 or $50-something thousand. So I was kind of upset, kind of like after that. And I heard a lot of stories about Don King and the way he do things. Even before that, I knew. I wasn't surprised. I was getting ready for a lot of training for some of these fights after Larry Holmes. I really couldn't. I trained But then I didn't because I heard a lot of bad things before I was with Don King. I didn't want to really go with Don King. And a lot of things was going on. So I was kind of frustrated in my head. I trained, I couldn't train, and I could train. And, you know, when I fought Jumbo Cummins, I really didn't really train hard with him. To me, he was an opponent, even though he was winning fights. Then after that, I fought James Quick Tillis. James Quick Tillis, I was supposed to fight him the first time. I was supposed to fight James Quick Tillis. I had got an ear infection. And I went to the doctors like 2 weeks before the fight, and they said, hey, you can't even spar anymore. If you get hit in the ear, you can lose your equilibrium, or you can probably lose your life. That's how bad my ear infection was. So they had to they was calling the fight off. They called the fight off. Then they redid the fight. They
scheduled,
established the fight. Yeah. And so I got ready for that one. We was chopping wood and everything. So we got down to the fight where the fight was, and so just so happened James Quick Tillis was getting in the same elevator as we was, right? And he said, yeah. He said, yeah. I know you didn't want to fight me. You were scared of me. I said, what? Yeah, we was in the elevator. He said, yeah, you were scared of me, man. You know, he said, I know you a little punk or something like that. He was like, yeah, you didn't want to fight me. I know you didn't want to fight me. Man, don't you know when that fight came off, I remembered all that, him saying that. We got in the elevator, and he was, like, teasing me. And then when I got into the fight, I showed him who was boss. I stopped him in 10 rounds. Tyson took him 10 rounds.
You stopped him in one round.
One.
You said 10.
I took him in one, but he went 10 rounds with Tyson.
Yeah.
You know, so that was a really good fight. I do believe it, that if he would have lasted the first round, I think the little bit of the experience that he had, I think would have helped him really get in the fight or stay in the fight. But I think I gradually would have probably knocked him out or won the fight. I caught him early.
Yeah, and like I say, he had a fantastic nickname for that fight. It was quick. It was over very quickly in the first.
You know, I'm friends with everybody. As soon as the fight's over, you know, it's all about the fight. After the fight, we got to live our lives.
Of course. And in the meantime, like you say, Larry Holmes had vacated the WBC due to that dispute with Don King. He didn't want to fight Greg Page. Yeah. This chain of events would then lead you to making history, and that win over Tillis set you up to fight for the vacant WBC heavyweight world title against Greg Page. The fight took place March the 9th, 1984 in Vegas. You won the fight by majority decision over 12. Tell us about the night you achieved, I'm guessing, what must have been your boyhood dream of becoming a world champion, Tim.
Well, yeah, it was my dream to win the heavyweight championship of the world. But at that particular fight, both of us, me and Greg Page, were kind of like upset. You know, I wasn't really that much upset because of the payday and the way we were being treated by the promoter. I think he did the best he could. I know that I wanted to win. But I was kind of like upset too about the pay we was getting for the fight. I sparred with Greg Page several times before that fight. Not directly, like years before that. I kind of like knew his style and everything. I knew he could take a pretty good punch. So you know, I just had to out hustle. He was doing pity patting, and I was just try to look aggressive and act like I wanted to win the fight, which I did. So I would try to be the aggressor and throw hard shots. But I think he was trying to win just pity patting. And if you look at the fight, he very rarely threw really hard punches, but he did. When he threw them hard, but he would pity pat, thinking that the judges, I think, would give him points. Sometimes your punches have to be, strong and like they gotta look like they're really hitting, not little slaps. So the judge is not going to go. So to me, if you watch the fight, it looked like he was pop, 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 but I was hitting him hard. He hit me hard a couple of times, So the two young guys in the ring, two boxers, Greg Page and Tim Witherspoon, both set out to be champions one day, and I edged them on it and got the championship.
And what did that feel like, Tim? What was the how do you describe the the feeling of becoming a world champion and, like we said, achieving your dream?
Well, it wasn't like Anthony Joshua or no, it wasn't like Anthony Joshua or Larry Holmes or Tyson Fury or Wilder in terms of finance, like and feeling a good feeling, finances, somebody that's behind you, that's going to push you. I don't know what that feeling is. Those guys, I got robbed out of that feeling. Those boxers got that feeling because they fought, they got paid properly, they were treated a certain way. Where we were treated, I was treated. I wasn't treated properly. We all, guys in Don King's camp were really not treated fully. So, when I won the title, I just felt like, well, the same thing's going to go on and on and on. You're not going to get paid properly. We're going to hear all this. We're going to hear all that. I'm sure those guys, when they walked away from there after their fight, everybody praised them. They had, I guess, had little parties. Everybody respected them. We were good boxers, but we didn't get respect because it was all, here come them, hear those boxers again getting ripped off. Oh, we got to hear this again, getting ripped off. So it took a lot from us being champion. So after I won the title, I don't think I felt like Tyson Fury or Muhammad Ali or Larry Holmes. It was a down feeling. It wasn't a really happy feeling. I was like, okay, everybody, thank you. But then we had to it was over. We walked back, tell your family, well, I can't pay for this, pay for that, these type of things. And so it wasn't a feeling, I know for a fact, like these guys, these other champions had. So, and each time I won it, I felt the same way. The second time I won the title, the IRS came in and took all my money. I had to borrow money from Don King. So I really can't tell you the feeling that I was supposed to get. I was robbed from it. But when I went back to my neighborhood, that's back in Philly, everybody was happy, but they didn't really know what was going on. I told them later.
Okay, that's it's difficult to hear actually, because it's supposed to be full of joy, but obviously it's not like that for everyone. Like you say, times have definitely changed now. Your world title reign would only be a short one. 5 months later, you're set to defend the title against the undefeated Pinklon Thomas, August 31st, 1984. This time you end up losing by majority decision after 12. It must be a disappointing night now looking back.
Well, after those events that happened, I was really speaking up against what was going on. I'm gonna say this: after it's all over, me and Don made up, and I'll tell you about that. Right before the Pinklon Thomas fight, I was arguing and fighting. And even way before that, I was arguing and fighting about being mistreated financially and a couple of other different ways. So I knew that if I kept on, that I would have to knock Pinklon Thomas out. I knew I would have to. So the thing was, I kept on telling people all the wrong things, telling the newspapers. So I knew that I had to knock Pinklon Thomas out a month or two before the fight. How about that? You before the fight that you're going to have to knock this guy out, and you possibly get banded or what I mean by banned, people be against you and everything, So I didn't care. I just kept on speaking. I was tired of getting these small paydays and tired of getting ripped off. So I went into the fight. I felt that I won. But I knew what the circumstances was. I knew what was going on. I knew what was going to happen if I didn't knock him out during the fight. So I just went through the motions, and the results was, I knew what the results was. I knew what the results was, and so I had to live with it. I knew what the results was going to be before the fight, so I just had to go through the motions in the fight. I tried to win. Yeah, I tried to knock him out, but I knew for a fact that if I didn't, he was going to win, and Don King was going to get what he wanted, and that was the championship belt, and that's control, the WBC.
And obviously after that fight, we're now in 1985. You kind of dropped down a level. You had 5 fights, 5 wins, including one against a guy who I'm sure we'll talk about later on, James Bonecrusher Smith. You beat him unanimously over 12, though. 2 fights after that is when you travelled to the UK, to Birmingham, and you boxed Sammy Scaff. How did that end up in the UK?
Yeah. I don't know. I think at the time, so we have to really help the boxers out because you know we get left behind. I'm gonna go to talk to Sammy Scaff real quick. You know, we don't have no coverage. Nobody taking care of us when our career is over, keeping us abreast on what's going on in the boxing game. Once it's over, once your career is over, that's it. You know, the boxing people, you don't have no programs to keep you involved in the boxing. They don't, you know, commentation. There's no commentating. When I went over there for Sammy Scaff, I think that was, I think I had left Don by then, and it was another promoter I think got me to fight. I don't think it was Don King. So. We went over there. It was I remember that clear as day because Azuma Nelson fought on the undercard. He fought Pat Cadell.
That's right. Yeah.
He fought Pat Cadell. Yeah. And I knew it was just a warm up fight for whatever's going to happen after that. So it was a good fight. I even told Sammy. I said, look, man. I think. Instead of you getting beat up, I think you should try to figure a way to don't go the whole 10 rounds. And I did. I was busting him up and everything. But I told him before the fight, it ain't worth it. Because he over in another country. I was just trying to save him some punishment. You know. And I wasn't really in no real good shape. But he was going to be an easy fight. But it turned out to be he was a little tough in the beginning. And I got him out of there. But I did hit him with a good shot. You know. So I did that because he was going to get hurt. I had talked. I said, "Yo, man, you just an opponent." I said, "Hey, you can get hurt. So whatever money you getting, you better try to figure out if it's worth it, whether to stay in there." And then so I got him good though. I got him out of there.
Round 4. And of course that fight takes us into January 17th, 1986, Muhammad Ali's 44th birthday, but it was also the night you fought Tony Tubbs for his WBA heavyweight world title. This one took place in Atlanta. On this occasion, it would be a majority decision win for you over 15 rounds. Yeah. Tell us about the night you became 2-time world champion, Tim.
Oh, yeah, it was great. I used to spar Tony Tubbs also. So Don King had us all in the camp training each other and sparring. So Tony's a good friend of mine. But I knew that Tony was slick. Tony was smart. Tony could punch a little. Not as hard as, the top heavyweights, but he can punch. He can punch too. But I wasn't fearing his punch, but he was very slick, very intelligent with his boxing skills. And I know I had to be in shape for that fight. So at that particular fight, both of us were still upset with Don King. We trained and everything, and you're going to be able to go 15 rounds if you didn't train. So, we trained, we boxed. I was the aggressor. And even when I used to spar him before, he just out-slicked you and try to spin you and bang you. And that's how he would win his fights. But I just was in his chest the whole fight. I just kept coming forward, and I knew that I would have won if I do that. But if I would have stayed on the outside and let him jab me and outpoint me and box me, I think they would have gave it to him. But I think he had trouble with Don King also at that time. And but either one of us could benefit off of a belt if we get it. But he tried and I tried, and they gave it to me.
And Tim, what was the more satisfying world title? I don't want to say reign, but I want to say basically, I simplify it. What was your favourite win of the world title? Was it the first time or the second time?
Okay, great page of Tony Tubbs. Neither one. I think they were symmetrical. I think they were the same in terms of me feeling a certain way. Let me see. The first one was a little bit more, and the second one, I went home with no money. I told you the IRS took my money. It was embarrassing. I was only getting $50,000, so it really wasn't no big occasion. It was a championship. It was big, but afterwards it was the same sad song. So I think at that point too, Don King was trying to get Tyson to be on his team. So prior to that, he had told a lot of the heavyweights. He was in the training camp, and he pulled up in the limo, and he got out. I don't think it was a limo; it was a regular car. He got out and told everybody to come over. We was all sitting around him, and he started talking about Tyson. So we was all like around, and people was in the gym. So Don came out and sat on the chair, and everybody came around. About 15 people, boxers, and he was telling all the heavyweights. He was like, "Hey man, y'all guys better get in shape. There's this young kid named Mike Tyson, and he's really tough. So I advise y'all to be in shape." And so we didn't pay him no mind. We said, "Who the hell is this Tyson guy?" We went on about our merry business. Then when we seen him fight, we said, "Oh, this is what he's talking about." So I think at that time, Don King was trying to get Tyson trying to get him on his team, try to steal Tyson, whatever. But we were going to be opponents, which really would have turned out to be, So that fight when I won the title with Tubbs, I tested positive for marijuana. My birthday was on December 27th. The fight was on January the 16th when I fought Tubbs, and right afterwards, Don King called me to his office and started cussing at me. What the hell is, I got suspended and everything because of the marijuana. He took $50,000 from me, $25,000 fine, and they sent me to a rehab, which I got laughed out of. Every time I went to the rehab, they was like, "But you belong here. You was just smoking weed. We doing heroin, all this other stuff." It was like, Tim Witherspoon, that's cool, but really they need to hear their stories. Mine was just marijuana, and I had to go there for like 4 or 5 months. And that's what led into the Bone Crusher fight when I took the dive. All this.
Okay, but before that, let's discuss your first defence of the title, of course, which came against Britain's very own future WBC heavyweight world champion Frank Bruno. You'd have to travel to Wembley on this occasion and box Frank in front of 40,000 fans. Tell me about that experience and the fight itself. 65, wow. My apologies.
65, that's what they said. No.
Tim,
no, okay, finish the sentence, then I'm gonna say something. Go ahead, finish.
I was going to finish the sentence by saying we're still upset about you knocking out our man Frank Bruno.
Nah, we really good friends now, but we found that it was estimated it was underreported. It was like 65,000 people in the stadium. They underreported that. From I heard, I don't know why. I don't know if it's taxes. I don't know this is what they were saying. That when we went to some type of discovery in court or something like that, this is what was stated. But that fight was to me, that fight was better than fighting Larry Holmes and then other guys, because I went into another country, somebody else's backyard, defended my title, and came out victorious. And I did it really good. and I was proud. The people in my neighborhood, everybody that supported me, everybody was happy for me. So before the fight, when they offered me to fight with Frank Bruno, I was happy about it. Now I could defend my title. in another country or somebody else's backyard, and that motivated me, and that motivated me. I know they said Frank Bruno was big and strong and muscular, and so we got ready. We got ready, chopped wood, we sparred, we ran our miles, and the results paid off. I'm saying the results, you could see that everything worked for me.
Yeah, and then obviously after that, we get to the I guess the crazy fight. Obviously, you and Frank both had a common opponent, which was James Bone Crusher Smith. You'd beaten him previously. Bruno lost to him when he got stopped, and then obviously you have the rematch with Bone Crusher right after that Bruno fight. You said to me that obviously there was a dive involved, but I've got to say I've watched it back twice in 1 week, and the dive was very convincing because it looked like he came out firing. It looked like he had a great round. Tell me.
Yeah, he did. I mean, hey, he was trying his best. I was just waiting for the right moment to make it look good. At times I had to make it look good because I knew that we had lawyers and everything waiting to sue Don King and everything. And but they didn't know. It was who knew was people in my corner. Now I was supposed to give Tony Tubbs a rematch, right? And then Don King didn't care about nobody. He cared about Tyson then. He didn't care about me. He didn't care about Bruno. He didn't care about Tony Tubbs, Bone Crusher Smith. He cared about Tyson. And we all knew that because when we had that meeting and he brought us there, we sensed he was trying to get Tyson on his team. So when I was supposed to give Tubbs a rematch, and I didn't really train. I trained. I was training. I was miserable. After the Tubbs fight, I didn't have no money. The IRS came in and took the money. I had to borrow $10,000 from Don King. So that was after the Tony Tubbs fight. We were only fighting for $50,000. I'm getting $50,000 after the fight, but they came and took. I had no money after the fight, so I asked him for money. He gave me like $8,000. Okay, and that was it. So after the Tubbs fight, I'm saying before the Tubbs fight, it was like January before the fight. It was January 16th or something. Well, before that fight was my birthday on December the 27th. I was in okay shape, the fight and everything. And then Tony Tubbs said he wasn't going to fight because he hurt his shoulder. And so I said, well, I'm only fighting Tony Tubbs. But I had smoked marijuana in a party they had for me like a dummy. I didn't realize I was going to get tested. So we were in a party for me in December, like the 27th or 8th. I think it was on my birthday. And everybody was like in the room. We was in a hotel room. We was just having a little fun. And then all of a sudden, I walked outside in the balcony, and they were smoking. It was a balcony or it was a lower deck where it's like on the ground. Well, anyway, I walked out there, and I smelled it. And so they was over there smoking. So I walked over there, and I started smoking marijuana with these guys. I didn't realize I was fighting, but the fight wasn't really going to be on or off when I'm talking about the Tubbs fight. Yeah. So I took some puffs, then Tubbs didn't fight. He hurt his shoulder. And then I said, wow. And then I thought we was going to wait to fight Tubbs. No, they snuck Bone Crusher in. So I was like, yo, man, he's tough. He's strong. I said I didn't prepare for Bone Crusher. I prepared for Tubbs and give him his rematch. So they started putting pressure on me just to fight him and stuff like that. Not only did I do that, I wasn't training. Because I thought they was gonna push the fight back. So, we flew. We was down in Florida, so we flew into where the fight was. Is in New York. The fight was in New York, so we flew in New York. We flew into New York, and then there was like the watch out on me. Everybody was watching me and making sure that I made it to the fight. Make sure that I came to the fight site. So I did come to the fight site, and they was interrogating me because I wasn't going to fight. I wasn't going to fight. So I was at the fight site in New York, and so I had people came from Philly, like, protecting me because they sensed that Don King, they was forcing me to fight and everything, and all different people was antagonizing, like, were putting pressure on me. So I was in my room. They was antagonizing all the people that was in my group because they wanted the fight to go on, So they said Bone Crusher, and I was like, no, I'm not fighting Bone Crusher. I'm fighting Tony Tubbs. That's what I'm obligated to do because, I tested positive for marijuana. I had to give them a rematch. They took $25,000 from me. And so we kept playing a game with them back and forth up until near the fight, the week of the fight. Like, I was hiding from them. Then the commissioner came in and threatened me. The president of the WBC came in and, this and that. I don't want to go into it, but members from the WBC came in and threatened me. The doctor in New York that was at the fight, he threatened me. Everybody associated with Don King came in and tried to force me to fight. I was in the room and had people answering the door. It was really messed up. So I went and inquired for a lawyer. I got a lawyer. I think it was Mark Risman who was helping me. Mark Risman was his name. And we was trying to figure out how we were going to do this thing because I wasn't going to fight Bone Crusher because I wasn't training. And after the fight, because Tubbs was the mandatory. So I wasn't going to fight Bone Crusher. And then, about a couple of days before the fight, because the lawyer was doing research and going around talking to people, and he said, Tim, I think it'll be in your best interest if you take the fight. I said, I'm not in shape. And I'm not supposed to fight him. He said, I think you better take the fight. I think they might have convinced him to convince me. So I said, I got my group together. My trainer, my real trainer wasn't with us, Slim. He left Don King because he wasn't getting paid properly. The guy that taught me everything, he couldn't take it no longer. So my main trainer left me, and I was all by myself. Training, fighting for these fights, but I did have other trainers. I had other trainers with Larry. Aaron Snowell was with me. He was with me, but he wasn't my teacher. Aaron Snowell was with me from the beginning, but he wasn't my teacher. He was in my corners, my second. So, I was just tired of it. I said, man, I want to get away from Don King and all this mess and everything. So, we got together, and I said, look, man, I'm taking a dive because we was going to sue him. I said, if I fight Bone Crusher and when I go 10 rounds with somebody else, I beat him the last time. Every round. So I said, I'm not going, 15 or 12? I don't know, it's 15 or 12. I said, nah, I'm not doing this. I'm getting away from Don. So I told my lawyer to make sure that it was a 3 knockdown rule. And if you look at the fight, I made it look really good. I crawled on the floor, act like I was hurt. But he never hurt me. The best thing that happened to me in that fight, he knocked out a teeth that I was going to go to the dentist to get pulled out. Yeah, and they told me that the medicine might cause me to be sluggish if they shoot medicine and, like to numb it. They said it could have a negative reaction as far as your training. And not only that, I just wanted to go to the dentist anyway. But they were saying, why don't you go get it pulled out? And I was thinking about it. Then I said, no, I don't want nothing to hinder anything. So this was before we went to New York. My teeth was loose. It was a big teeth. So let me try to get back on the right track. Okay, so we are in the room. I had people at the door answering the door. They was taking me through hell. So the lawyer came back. I said, know what I said? I said, make sure the money was right. Make sure the money was right. And Don King didn't care about me. He would have gave me $1 million. All he wanted was the belt. And I realized that afterwards. So when they was negotiating the money and everything, I was getting less money than what I was supposed to get. I don't even remember. I think I was supposed to get, $200,000 or maybe $150,000. I wound it up with 3, I think, or 4. I could have got $1 million. because I found out all they wanted was Tyson. So if I would have said 600,000-700,000, they would have gave it to me. They just wanted me out the way. So I found that out afterwards. So okay, so everything leading up to the fight, I know that I'm not going to go any kind of rounds with this guy. So I made it look good. I feel bad for Bone Crusher because he feels as though that he wanted to fight fair and square. And I told him, man, I'm sorry, I apologize, but this is what we had to do. But he still believed that he knocked me out. Man, I never wasn't even hit hard in that fight. I had to make it look good too. He knocked my teeth out. That was the best thing he did in that fight. He hit me in somewhere, but the teeth I spit it on the. Matter of fact, after the interview, you see me lean up the rope. I spit something out my mouth. You can see it come out my mouth, the teeth. And so after that fight, I was one of the happiest persons in the world because I knew I was going to sue Don King, fight against him, and I was going to get away from him. And I was really happy after that fight. So I just feel bad that Bone Crusher has to live his life, the way he think he did, but he didn't. And that's the thing. So we really went against Don King on that one.
But Tim, you wanted to get away from Don King so badly that you decided to give away the belt pretty much in the first round.
Yeah.
Did it work out in the end? You say you were going to sue him. Did you sue him for a large enough amount where you think it was the right move? Because it sounds a bit crazy, I have to say.
Yeah, well, it was crazy. Oh man, the stuff that was going on and between boxers. Come on now, heavyweight champion of the world, and you go home with no money. And I told you before that we were talking to lawyers before we went into training. Well, Don King heard that I was seeing a lawyer and people were helping me, so he sent me down to Florida. Little did he know, the lawyer was right about 5 miles from where he sent me. Yeah, I forgot his name, Richard Emery or something like that. Richard Emery. He was down in Florida. So we was going to New York. We was up in New York at one of the law firms that's affiliated with him. He sent me right where the guy was. So instead of letting me train in like Philadelphia or whatever, he sent me. He knew about it. He knew that we was fighting him. He sent me to Florida, but he sent me 10 miles, like 5 to 10 miles from where the lawyer was. And we were meeting with the lawyer down in Florida while I was training for the Bone Crusher fight. Yeah, I had several meetings with him, and then not several, several was just more than one, but we had about, I would say, 3 meetings. We sat down, we talked, and everything, and then we flew back to the fight site up in New York at the Garden. So when we got to the fight site, we all knew. My corner knew. My mom and everybody didn't know. I didn't want to tell them, but everybody in my corner knew what I was going to do. So it was me, James Thornwell, Aaron Starron was with me. Me, James, Aaron Snowell, and I think Greg Robinson, who was my trainer's nephew, who was pretty good. So all of us was in the corner, but they knew what we was going to do. So, and a couple of people was crying. They didn't know, and I told them afterwards. I said, "Yo, we And then right after that, we did everything. We started all the process. I just then when I felt really good after that fight that I don't have to deal with Don King anymore, even though I know he still controls a lot of things, but I was away from him. My brother Anthony left earlier. My brother Anthony was like 10-0 with 10 knockouts. He never wanted to go with Don King. And we was with a Jewish guy named Mark Stewart who was taking care of us. He was taking care of us. We had a car. We had a place to stay. And then him and his group got caught selling drugs. We didn't even know it. If you look up Larry Levin, they called him Dr. Snow. That's how come we wound it up with Don King. Okay. There was a group of managers. They was together, and my manager Mark Stewart was in a family with them, and they got busted. That's how we wound it up with Don King. My brother Anthony didn't want to go. I just had to go. I just went, and that's how we wound it up the way we were. Because I had a guy that was treating us really good, like Tyson was being treated. Who else? All these boxers being treated good. Then we went to Don King. Everything was messed up. But I kept on fighting because I wanted to fight. And my brother Anthony he lost one of his fights, and he just went with somebody else. He just left. So that's really what happened back then.
So, Tim, before we get back on track to the fights next, which I want to do...
I know, I went everywhere.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I want to ask you one question on that stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously, if I'm not... correct me if I'm wrong. I believe you tried to sue Don, I think, for 25 mil, and then it ended up getting settled for about 1 mil. If I'm... Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that in, like, when you look back on it now, do you feel like that 1 million was worth giving up the belt for now and getting away from Don? Is that enough to get rid of the title?
Yeah, anything. Yeah, well, anything was worth getting away from someone that you really wasn't going to make out with. Anything would have been good. He was ripping me off.
Okay.
Yeah. So wait a minute, there was something important. You said, say it again, what you said.
I said that you sued him for 25 mil. It got settled for 1. Was that really worth kind of giving the belt away for just 1 mil? That's all.
Okay. The bottom line, suing them and everything was worth it. Suing them and letting everybody know what's going on was worth it. Standing up to him was worth it. I sacrificed. I feel that I sacrificed for a lot of other people that exposed Don King, and then ultimately in the end, we wound up saying we love each other. But I'm gonna tell you about that. But what happened with the lawsuit? My lawyers told me that if I didn't take a settlement of $1.2 million, right, it'll be 15 years, 10 years before we can get them back in court. Right? So they tried to run that on me. They said, look, Tim, Don King has been indicted for other stuff, and if we don't take this deal now, this is what happened. If we don't take this deal, we're going to lose everything. And not only that, it'll take another 20 years, like 15, 20 years to get him. So I was like, I thought something was wrong with that. Yeah, that's what really happened. Near the end, when we was getting to him, you know who broke the case? This accountant's named Steve Ratner. Steve Ratner, he had Miles Davis, the musician, Miles Davis.
Okay.
You heard of him, Miles Davis?
Yeah.
And Cicely Tyson, he did cases for them. He was the accountants for our case. So he went in there and found a lot of different things that was unusual. It was in Don King's his money part, right? So we came to a meeting one time, and the accountant said, well, how did this $500,000 come out of this account and disappear into that one? Don King ended the meeting right there and then. He was saying, Steve Ratner said that, and he said a couple other things about Don King's money and accounts. So Don King got nervous. He cut the meeting off short. As soon as Steve Ratner brought that to everybody's attention, he said, well, how did this money come in this account, then go into Carl King's account, and then disappear? So I feel they made some type of deal, right? They made some type of deal, and I feel that I got sold out. He never got indicted. They said, Tim, if you don't take this deal, this would happen. They said, Tim, if you don't take this deal, right, it's going to be 20 years. No, I'm exaggerating. He said it's going to be a long time before you get him in court, and he might go to jail. Yeah, he might go to jail for these other crimes.
Yeah.
So I got mad at them. I got mad at the lawyers, and I was like, man, something fishy. And I walked out the law office, and then I waited 1 week. I waited 2 weeks. Nobody called me. And 3 weeks, I said, something fishy. So I called them and said, look, I want to make the deal because I didn't know what was going on. I called them. I said, look, man, let's come in. So I made the deal. It was $1 million something, $1.2 million. I was mad. I didn't want to do it. I'd rather go all the way to the end and lose. But what the things that they were saying to me, I thought it was really bad. Now I'm getting sold out. So we settled it. Everybody's saying, Tim, you won. I didn't win. Don King won again. So the lawyers, whatever the lawyers did, you know, they left me hanging. So we got $1 million, $1.2 million, and then they cut some of that up. I think I went home with like about $800,000, and so Don King really won. He won. I didn't win, and I never felt that I won. Don King won again, but later, real quick, later on, after all that stuff, and years later, I went over to Vegas with this Irish boxer. I was in this, not in this corner, but I was on his team, and he was getting ripped off by Don, and so when we flew to Vegas, and he had to fight. He lost the fight, but after the fight, Don King came over to me and said, "I love you, Tim." And I hesitated for a minute. I said, "Uh-oh." I was like shocked. And I said, "Yeah, I love you, Don." I said, "I love you back." And then I felt something in me. I said, "Man, I feel like I'm relieved. I can go live, be with my family. Don't have to talk about Don King anymore." I was fed up. I said, "Man," and none of the rich people, lawyers, and everybody talking about him on television, nobody helped. But a boxer, I had to go talk about it and everything and tell what's happening to me. None of the people with money in boxing, nobody helped. So I just left it alone. If I had a couple of $100 million, I would have tried to help the boxing industry out, you know. But that's what happened. Nobody helped. I was on my own. None of those people helped, so I just left it alone. You know, all the rich people out there, why can't they help fight against this guy or other people that's doing negative stuff to boxers? You got to have a boxer that's being underpaid and everything speak up with nobody backing him but his own, you know, team. So that's how that ended up. Right now, I have no problem with Don King. I'm going to leave it alone. Nobody helped us. So, and now right now, I'm just enjoying my family with my kids. You see me. I was out there in the playground playing with my 3 grandkids, making sure my daughter that's from there eat, you know. So I'm satisfied with that. But that's what happened. He still won.
Yeah. Nice. I've had a few Don King stories over my time doing interviews, especially from the likes of like Layman Brewster and Chris Bird. They got some stories about Don as well. Wow. But anyway, getting back onto the journey.
Serious stories, huh?
Well, yeah, little bits, you know, little bits. Okay. But obviously, I remember
that I had more of a serious information to give out.
Yours, I think, is more serious. But yeah, like I've heard how he would you know, gift people cars and take it out their paycheck, and you know, never accept a gift from Don King is the advice I've been told. So
because he'll charge it up. Because what he did, real quick, I'm not going to take too long on it, but what he did too was when I fought Bruno, and you probably already know this, he deducted everybody's expenses. He flew about 10 judges, 10 jurors over to the fight and took it out of my money. Yeah. If you do research, everything that was over there that had expenses, a majority of that came out of my money. Yeah.
That's Don
So
King.
I'm okay now, though. Yeah, I know.
Getting back
it's
onto
over.
it.
It's over.
Getting back onto the journey, your next 12 fights after that Smith fight, which spanned from August 87 to March 1992, were all kind of at a level or two below the top level. You boxed literally from Atlantic City to York Hall in Bethnal Green, London, to Las Vegas, to Indonesia, to Seattle, to the famous Blue Horizon in Philadelphia. But 12 fights, 12 wins, including 7 by KO, 4 by split or majority decision. That's when we get to Michigan, Tuesday, July 21st, 1992. A shock split decision loss over 10 to Everett Martin. What happened there, Tim?
This is what happened with that one. I really didn't think that you know, he had the materials to beat me. So I trained and everything, but you know, I learned my lesson with that and a couple other fights. In right shape. It was a close fight, but in the right shape and everything, I think I would have stopped him. But he was determined to win. I guess, fighting against a top guy and all that. And after that fight, I could see it. I could see that this was his dream, to try to beat somebody that was up there and all that. But I do believe that if I was in a proper shape, I could have either stopped him or, unanimously won the fight. So I underestimate him. They told Don King was telling me, we don't get opponents and this and that. Bigfoot, he was just an average guy. And then when I got in the ring, he fought me like he was trying to win the title. And it could have been the case where Don King just wanted me out of his way. So he won the fight, Bigfoot. I remember that, Bigfoot Martin. Yup.
Yeah,
he stayed in my chest.
He boxed everyone. I mean, he boxed so many guys, man. Do you want me to tell you some of the guys he boxed real quick?
Yeah.
He beat Burt Cooper, but he lost to Dwight Muhammad Qawi, lost to George Foreman, lost to Gary Mason, lost to Francesco Damiani, James Bone Crusher Smith, Michael Mora, Riddick Bowe, Tony Tucker, Larry Holmes, Herbie Hyde, Tony Tubbs. He boxed all these guys. Vladimir Klitschko twice.
Wow.
Layman Brewster. Joe Hipp, everyone.
Wow. Did they all beat him?
Yeah, they all beat him. That's why it was a shock loss.
Yeah. Well, I feel as though also, I think with that fight, I really can't remember right now whether Don King, I wasn't with Don King, I don't think then. I don't think I was with Don then. I think I was with Dennis Rappaport maybe. Because I went from Dennis Rappaport to, I was with I forgot, Banner Promotion. I was with Banner Promotion. It wasn't that long. Banner Promotion, and I think the fight might have been with them, right? And I just was just getting ready for these fights, just trying to pay the bills. I didn't think that I was going to get another championship fight.
Yeah. But no, after that fight, you box just 1 month later. You beat Tony Willis over 10. Then you take 2 years out the ring, from August 1992 to August 1994. What kept you out the ring for 2 years, Tim?
Wow, you have to tell me, because you have to tell me. So that was who was the first fight when I came back?
The first fight when you came back was, oh gosh, you've caught me off guard. It was...
I know, I'm getting caught up.
Sherman Griffin. Sherman Griffin.
Did I knock him out? Or
third round, third round knockout.
Sherman Griffin. I think I was with Dennis Rappaport then.
Okay.
And he treated me, Dennis Rappaport treated me so good. I just said, I was abused with Don King and other stuff. I was a bruised boxer. I didn't feel like things was working for me. And when I got with Dennis Rappaport, he treated me good. I was a bruise. He treated me good. If I needed money, he gave it to me. If after one of the fights I won, there was a $40,000 bonus. I told him to give the money to my kid's mother, like buy her a car. And we made good money together. And he always sent me to camp. I was in camp. He had a security there. He had the sparring partners there. He really cared. Dennis Rappaport. He the one that was with Jerry Cooney. Okay. Dennis Rappaport, with Rappaport and Jones. And I neglected that good relationship. And I still sometimes text him on Facebook and everything. And I realized how I messed up, because I had a guy that really cared. And I was just hung up over the Don King stuff. I didn't trust a lot of people. And here it is, a manager, promoter, treating me 100%. He was anything. If I needed it, he would give it to me. But I just ain't trained properly. I trained, and I think it came because of all that negative stuff that was going on. I didn't even realize that Dennis was looking out for me big time. And I apologized to him about 2 years ago. I apologized. I called him up, and I talked to him. And I was like, look, man, I look back and I seen all the good things that you were doing. And I didn't tell him that I think it was from the abuse of Don King and all that. But I'm looking back and I just ain't trust nobody. But he if my head was on right, I would have won the title again. If my head was on right, he was helping us. We didn't need nothing. No sparring partners was there. If I needed to rent a car, if I needed to stay in a hotel, if I needed to fly to California to get sparring, if I had to go wherever, he would pay for it. And I neglected that. That's one thing I do regret in my boxing career. That I know there was a promoter that was really looking after me, and I neglected it. I did do good. If you look at the records, I did pretty good. But then on some of the fights, I did like Andrew Galata. I think he was a promoter for that fight. Well, anyway, Rappaport really looked after me, and it was a little too late for me. If I would have met him in the beginning, like Mark Stewart, like the guy like Mark Stewart, he was the same type of guy, but they got in trouble. But Dennis don't play that stuff, drugs and all that. He don't play. He was straight up and down, you know. And if I would have met him, he would have put my money away. He would have helped me put my money away. He would have helped me make money. This is the kind of guy Dennis was, and I'm only realizing it after it's over. It's too late.
Yeah. No, but you know, as we say, you came back from 2 years out of the ring. You put together seven fight win streak. Of that 7-fight win streak as well, the two best wins were both at the Madison Square Garden. A shutout win over 10 against former IBF Cruiserweight World Champion Alfred Cole, and a 5th round KO win against Jorge Luis Gonzalez. This brings us to December 1996. You step in against former WBO Heavyweight World Champion Ray Mercer. A unanimous decision loss over 10. Tell us about that. Ray was a tough guy.
Yeah, he was. His jab was harder than the right hand. His jab was hard. You know, I trained for him. Reason why I trained for him, because I knew that he was a Marine. I knew that he was on an Olympic team, and I knew that he would get up for a fight like with me. I knew that he was, and he was in shape. He did look a little heavy, but he was in shape, and his jab was like a hard right hand. And after the fight, he said, "You won the fight 10." But at one point he did say, "Hey, they done it to me twice." He lost to Lennox Lewis. He got robbed by Lennox Lewis and somebody else. And then he said, "Hey, they done it to me. It's my turn." But then later on, we were friends then. He afterwards, he said, "Yo, you won that." He told me, he said, "I think you won the fight." When I look at the fight, I said, "Yeah, I could have won it, but I think you could have deserved it too." I say that to him. This is what we say back. He says he think I won, and I'm saying I think he deserved it. And so we just had a signing together about 3 weeks ago. Just me and him, and we had a little small signing together. We really good friends now. We was friends then. We was friends then after the fight, but we were trying to kill each other during that fight. There was some heavy banging. It was some heavy banging. But I felt that I did win. He felt that he won. It was a close fight. I'm just satisfied with my performance during that time in my career. And, I just had to move on. That's all.
And then, of course, after that, you're out the ring for 11 months. You come back and win a first-round KO against one opponent. Then you go on that 5-fight losing streak, obviously. Larry Donald, Jimmy Thunder, Andrew Galata, Brian Nielsen, and former foe, Greg Page. You're going to stop me. Go on.
Oh, no, well, okay, so, yeah, like those fights...
Shall I finish what I was going to say? Because what I was going to just say, Tim, is it fair to say at this point your better days are behind you at this stage of your career, I think?
Yeah, they were. I was just trying to pay bills. I was just trying to... With the Galata fight, the promoter just came to my house. He came in and a limo pulled up. I don't know how he got my address. He pulled up to my house and jumped out. He was really nice. And he quoted a figure, a number. I don't know how much it was. A couple $100,000, I think, or 150. I don't know what it was. I forgot. And then he said, "Would you take the fight?" I got out my bed, and then a couple of days later, I'm in Poland training. And the Brian Nielsen. The same thing with the Brian Nelson one. The Brian Nelson one. Well, I might as well just say it because the people don't believe that I got stopped by Brian Nelson. You know, I might as well just say it. But I went over there and there was a plan laid out. There's a plan laid out, and I got paid for it. That's all. They came in. They got me out of my. They didn't get me out of my bed, but they flew me over there, and that was just a vacation. So, what was it? The first round?
Brian Nelson, round 4.
Okay. Oh, that's how many rounds it was supposed to last. Okay. I'm just telling you the truth. How boxing is.
No,
you know. And he seemed to be an easy. I told people. I told newspapers before, but they knew it was the people. I almost didn't get paid. The people in the audience was like, boo. They was booing. So his promoter just wanted to keep getting them wins. I got paid. I got paid for that fight, and I just put up a good fight. And the 4th round was supposed to be the ending of it, and that's how my career ended. It ended like that. I know I couldn't win the title again. You know, it would have been too hard. And then I started wanting to be a freedom fighter, fighting for boxing, people who's getting done wrong. I've been doing that ever since I was getting ripped off, though. That's what I do. I will speak up if I think something's wrong, and I still up until today. But we do need promoters. We do need managers. But we need them to operate properly instead of ripping people off. I think it's better now. I think it's a lot better now than when we were fighting.
Yeah.
I think 100 million. Come on, man. I got better skills. They look good and muscular like Joshua. He looked like muscles and stuff and all that, but the skills.
Yeah.
He's good. Listen, we'll get to that. He'll get to that.
Do you want to say a sentence or two on the Greg Page rematch?
Okay, the rematch, the Greg Page. Right. So he won the decision.
No, you retired on your store at the end of the 7th.
Oh, okay, that's right. This what happened. Okay, beautiful. Hey, listen, man, I didn't get hit with a whole lot of shots. You know, I missed a lot of shots. But in the last couple of months, I've been kind of like forgetting some things. The last couple of months, this is why we need a lot of help when you retire. We need help to keep boxers talking, keep us visual out there speaking and stuff. You know, so with the Greg Page fight, if I can remember, that was just to get money. Oh, no, my back. It was my back. Okay. It was my back, and I was happy. I was happy that the fight was over. My back, the right side of my back, lower back, was giving me trouble for about 3 years, and I would be tightening it up. So in my career, like down the line, you know, I've been getting like back pains and stuff like that. So I had got a cramp, and my back was hurting. So I didn't want to come out the corner. That's what it was. Yeah, I didn't come out the corner. Greg was the happiest person in the world too. You could see it. I used to spar with him all the time. But I got that money. I started getting money. I just started fighting and getting paid because it was near the end. I know I was going to retire. And if a fight came up, and a lot of boxers do this. A lot of boxers near the end, they do it just to get money. So I started doing. I had a good defense. I knew that I wouldn't get hurt. Really, I wouldn't get hurt and everything. But I was happy for Greg. He jumped up. I seen how happy he was and everything. My main concern is I did get paid, but I did have a little back problem in that fight. Could I have went on a couple of more rounds? I think so, but it was tightening up really bad. Now I remember, the Greg Page fight. Yup. He jumped up and down like he was won a championship fight. Yeah, he jumped up and he passed away though. He passed away and yeah. So things is crazy. I'm still happy the way my life went. I wouldn't change it because you know, it's just even though the negative stuff happened, the people know that I did try hard. I tried to be a good boxer. I try to help the politics of boxing out. I like that.
Yeah, and I'm just going to whiz through the last few fights of your career, just the results. They're much smaller fights. They're at the back end of your career. After the Greg Page fight, you knock out Joe Ballard in 1 round. Then you draw with Mike Cedillo over 12. Then you knock out David Smith in 2. Then you knock out David Bostis in 1. Then you win majority over 10 against Eliseo Castillo. Then you knock out Dan Wofford in 3. That's when you box on the Layla Ali Jackie Frazier undercard, but you lose a split decision to Monty Barry.
I lost to Monty Barry. I really didn't. I really didn't. I seen a couple of fights of him, and I didn't really think he was a bother. And I didn't think he was a bother. I seen him fight like 3 fights, and I said, I don't see nothing really good in none of these 3 fights. And then everybody was telling me, he don't really train this way and that way, but he trained for me. Ain't that something? He trained for me. So that was the decision. He got a decision over me, right?
Split decision, split.
Split. Oh, it was a split. He could punch though. He could punch with that right hand. He respected me, but he wanted that fight more than I wanted. I just was trying to get paid again. I just trained. When I seen the videos, I just said, man, I could beat him. Because he didn't do well against somebody that was really bad. And, I just was saying, okay, we can get him. And I probably could knock him out or something, but he was ready for me. He got in trained. He got in good shape. And God bless him. He beat Tim Witherspoon. If it could help him, God bless him,
Yeah, for sure. And you had, I think it was about 6 fights after that. You came back, another 4 wins in a row, 3 by KO. Then you lose the final 2 fights, a stoppage loss in 5 to Lou Savarese in your final fight, a split decision loss over 10
Lou
to Brian Nix. You retire in 2003, Tim, with an official record of 55 wins, 38 by KO, 13 losses and 1 draw. I'm going to come at you now with a couple of kind of quick fire questions, just about very short questions, just before we wrap things up. Don King, describe him in 1 word.
I think he's the best. I think he's the best promoter in boxing. He's the colorful everything. He just didn't do the right things. I know you want me to say. Let me see. What can I say about him in 1 word? He is the best, I think, promoter. The colorful, the way he presents himself, the way he really put those shows on. That is a showmanship, a good showmanship, and a good. But when it came in terms of treating the boxers, he didn't treat them good. So that's the only way I could describe. Don King would go down in history as the best promoter that ever lived. Like Muhammad Ali. He's the Muhammad Ali of promoters. He just didn't treat the boxers right. He's the Muhammad Ali and Tyson of the promoters.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. That's a good summary of Don King, really. I want to ask you, Tim, who was the hardest puncher you ever got in the ring with?
I always say my kid's mother. I always say my kid's mother to see the person that asked me that question. See, if they're laughing, they do. The hardest puncher, I had a good defense, and let me see. I got hit by Carter Truth. Carter Truth rocked me. Bone Crusher Smith rocked me a little bit. Let me see. Who else? There was somebody else. Carter Truth and Bone Crusher. I really can't. Those two guys.
Ray Mercer?
Okay. No, Ray didn't. I didn't get buzzed by him, but Carter Truth rocked me. If you watch the fight, he caught me with the right hand. He was running the whole fight. The whole fight, he wouldn't sit still. Then he caught me when I was relaxing, and like I stumbled, but I came back. I won the fight. Because he was running all over the place. So Bone Crusher hit me. Andrew Galata hit me, but slightly was hurt. Bruno had me hurt. Bruno had me hurt for like 5 seconds. Yeah. But Carter Truth hit me the worst. I think it's Carter Truth. Yeah. If you watch that video, you'll see he caught me with the right hand.
And which win of your career, Tim, was the most satisfying win?
I would say. I liked the Quicksilver's fight. I knocked him out in the first round, but it had to be the Bruno fight. It was so beautiful. Just taking the title into somebody else's backyard. Everybody screaming at you, and wanting you to lose, and all the odds are against you. And in that fight, my own American commentators were talking negative about me. If you watch the fight, they were talking negative about me. The whole fight, oh, he's fat, he's this and that, because they probably thought Bruno was going to win, or it's just dumb. You don't get the respect. If I had $100 million in the bank, I don't think they would be saying stuff like that. But they knew I was broke. They knew I was struggling. So they could say anything they want, but you could be a boxer that skills is really not that good, and you're doing really good and got a lot of money. I think they'll respect you more because you got a nice big house. You know what I'm saying. You have money. You've been treated right. But if you ain't, oh, here he go again with this getting ripped off stuff. We don't want to hear that type of thing. So Larry Merchant, I think Sugar Ray talked it really honestly good about it, but Larry Merchant and the other guys were saying, oh, he's fat, he's this and that. If you play the video all during the fight, you'll see them talking negative about me. And even when I won the fight, Larry Merchant still said something negative about me. So, yeah, man, I couldn't believe it. So the Bruno fight to me is my best. It was better than Larry Holmes. It was better than any of the fights because I went over there, defended my title, and then I continue to go over there. It's like my second home. The UK is my second home. I got a grandson over there in Barnsley, Oliver Charles Lomax, and my daughter was born in London. I was frequently going over there, and that's what really put the icing on the cake, that I continue on going over there. And when I was over there, I knocked Bruno out. We was in Basildon. We all was having fun. But before the fight, the English wanted to kill us. But then when the fight was over, we had a party in Basildon, England. Everybody, the English, we were hugging and kissing and singing songs together. And by the way, they knew more oldies but goodies songs than the Americans. You know the oldies but goodies songs?
Yeah.
We were all singing them together. And then I had to stop on some of the words, and the English girls kept on singing the words. I was like, that's embarrassing because we from America, right? So that is really my big fight, the Bruno fight. That fight, to me, is bigger than the Larry Holmes fight. It's bigger than them knockouts that I had because I continue on to learn and have friends and communicate with people from another country. And that really set it off because now I can go over there. I know where to go. I can go down south. I can go up north. I can go west, all over. And everybody know me. And like I said, I got family over there. So the Bruno fight allowed me to open up, and have a relationship with people in England, whereas though you see a lot of other boxers that fought over there, they don't. But I have a special heart for the UK. I do.
No, that's fantastic to hear, man. I want to ask you, Tim, who do you feel was the best all-round fighter that you ever boxed?
I boxed Tony Tubbs. Was really clever. He was really clever, and he knew his moves. He knew he was slick. He was smart. He just didn't punch real hard. So,
I thought you were going to say Larry Holmes within like 2 seconds.
No, Larry Holmes. Listen, no, Larry Holmes. We took his jab away. He didn't. I had fun in that fight. Larry Holmes, listen. Larry Holmes was okay. Say that question again, real quick. Say that question again. You asked me about the.
Who was the best fighter you ever boxed? The best all-round fighter?
Who could punch? Who could box? Who had good defense?
Good jab.
Larry Holmes didn't have no defense. He just had a good jab, and he hit you with the right hand. That's all Larry Holmes had. Tubbs had everything. A lot of the boxers lacked a lot of things back then. They lack, and up to date they do too. They really lack a lot of things. I don't want to contradict myself. Let me see. Oh God, who was a good Ray was strong. I really can't all around. I can't really say. I'm not gonna say Larry Holmes because we took his jab away. He had plenty of heart. Larry didn't have all Larry had. He won his fights with a jab in the right hand and his courage. I would say Larry Holmes, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And I want to ask you this as well, Tim. If you could get in a time machine and go back in time and you could avenge one of your losses, which loss would you most like to avenge?
I like that question. Let me see. Which one that I lost that I would? I don't really want to the Larry Holmes one because I felt I won. In my heart, there's no doubt in my body. So there were some fights like the Lou Savarese. I didn't even get hurt, and they stopped the fight, and I was like, okay. I was like, cool, because I wasn't going to get the title or nothing again. They wasn't going to give me a title shot. So when the referee stopped it and he talked to me after the Lou Savarese fight, he said, man, did I stop it too soon? I said, no, I was all right. I told the referee, thought he stopped it too soon. I wasn't hurt at all. I wasn't hurt. I just was thinking about the money. And that was wrong then. But you talking about an old man. I'm an old man now. I'm trying to think of the stuff that So what fight? What could I get back? Well, I tell you what. Let's put it this way. See the Bone Crusher second fight?
Yeah.
If the circumstances was whereas though I know that Don King wasn't doing the stuff that he was doing, I would like to do that fight again and knock him out, or beat him every round like I did before. The Bone Crusher second fight, I really do feel bad for him because he thought he won the fight clear and clean, and really he didn't. He didn't do it. So I would like to give him a second chance, get in shape, but he can't now. He's in a wheelchair.
Yeah, of course.
You've seen him in a wheelchair before, right?
Yeah, sad stuff.
Yeah, so I would say Bone Crusher. I would say give him a if anybody I want to get revenge on, right? That's what you was asking me, right?
Yeah. If you could avenge one of those losses, go back and turn it into a win.
I would do the Bone Crusher one.
Yeah, I think that's the best answer, actually.
Yeah, because he was easy, too. He was easy the first time. All I had to do was be in shape. I was quicker than him. I was better skilled. He just was big and strong. He had big hands.
Yeah. And I want to ask you this as well, Tim. Was there anyone that you wished you could have fought but didn't end up getting the chance to, make the fight happen?
I know in the next couple of days I'll probably say, man, I should have told him this guy.
It could have been anyone. It could have been like a Lennox Lewis, like a Mike Tyson, anyone from that era. Evander Holyfield, I don't know.
I really didn't, in my mind, and really right now in my mind I don't have no thoughts of any of those because they did come up. They did come up a little bit after me.
Yeah,
I know that if I was during the era and I was in good shape, I know that I could beat any one of them on a good day, in shape. I didn't lift weights. I didn't do all the stuff that they did. If I was in shape like Evander Holyfield and Tyson, I would be the new Muhammad Ali. But I would be the new biggest guy out there. In shape and got skills, Oh man. So those are some of the things that I look back and see. Only if I was in top shape, none of those guys would be able to hit me because I had really good defense, and that's what helped me really when I got into the ring with most of my opponents. Is that I knew that if the only way they hit me, if I let them, and if I made a little mistake, I could hit. But the majority of the time, I wouldn't let none of those guys hit me. But if they got through, it was something that they did. They got them through. But I had a good defense and I blocked a lot of punches. But and there's some stuff that was they written about Tyson, that Tyson management. Tyson would have fought me, but they kept me away from Tyson. They kept me away from Lennox Lewis. They kept me away from them. This is what I found out. It's documented that Tyson's management didn't want nothing to do with me, not knowing that I really wasn't even in shape. And Lennox Lewis, Emanuel Stewart, quoted to people that they didn't want to fight me at that time. And this is the fact. These are facts. Tyson, Lennox Lewis, and Evander Holyfield, they said he was sick. One time, the HBO had me and him to fight, and he couldn't fight because they said something was wrong with his heart then. So they didn't take the fight. So 3 top guys, their management, not the boxers refused, but the managements refused to fight Tim Witherspoon. And that's a fact. I found out later.
Okay. Interesting, man.
Tyson is the Tyson one is documented that what's his manager name? His promoter Customato. Well, Customato and all, they didn't want nothing to do with me. They didn't want nothing to do with me at that time, and it was documented in one of these documentaries too. Yep. And Lennox Lewis, Emanuel Stewart told them, he said, "Nah, we'll stay away from him." This is what I heard. And Evander Holyfield. But I knew all 3 of the boxers would have fought me. I knew that. It wasn't their call. It was their management.
Well, there you go. That question took a strange turn, but that's interesting stuff there, Tim. I want to ask you these last couple questions now.
Okay.
I'm going to put you.
You can call me though. You always can call me and get whatever information you can. Okay.
Same, hey Tim. The same to you.
Okay.
I want to ask you this. I'm putting you on the spot a tiny bit here. If I ask you who's your favourite UK fighter, Tim, who springs to mind? A guy from the UK, any era, who springs to mind?
My favorite UK boxer. Oh, wow. My favorite UK boxer. I know I'm going to say something. I like Junior Witter.
Oh.
You mean far as skills and stuff?
I wasn't expecting you to say that, but yeah. Anything, whatever, your personal favourite. You make the rules, my friend.
I mean, personally, I like Bruno. You mean far as skills or just as a person?
You can give me 2 if you like, person and skills, whatever you want.
Oh, God. So Lennox Lewis is involved in this too? Is he from UK?
Yeah.
I don't know. I know I'm going to say something, then later on I think I should have took somebody else. So who is who I think is a good boxer from the UK, right?
Who's your personal favourite?
Oh, I never was asked that question before.
Sorry, Tim. That's what I do best.
Let me see. My favorite UK fight. I used to. Oh man, I trained Clinton Woods, but my favorite UK. We lost on this one.
That's okay. Those names that you mentioned anyway are, good fighters. Obviously, Junior Witter, Frank Bruno, and
I like Frank.
Lennox Lewis. Yeah.
But I like Dylan White. I like Dylan White. I like him. See, this is personal stuff. Not talking about skills or anything.
Yeah.
I talked to him. He seemed to be a really smooth guy. Frank Bruno. And even Lennox Lewis, but Frank Bruno really is a really, really nice guy, man. He's a really nice guy. Called me up after the fight, congratulate me, and I just didn't know how to take it. I was choking. I was like, oh, man, thank you, Frank. And we became friends. I'll just put Frank in there because Frank was really cool. Frank was really cool. He was a warrior. He had his people behind him. He just didn't come out on top. And all the best to Frank. He's a really good guy and deserve everything he gets.
Beautiful words, man.
I'll pick Frank.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. And Tim, what are you up to now? Obviously, you've been retired now 18 years. What do you get up to now, day to day? What keeps you busy?
I'm knowing that I got kids that they grown, but I'm still concerned about them. One of my little daughters, I got to make sure that take care of her. She's only 10 years old. She's from the UK. She's born in Tottenham. She's born in Edmonton, but she lived in Tottenham. And I got to make sure that's what keep me driving. My family, not trying to chase Don King. Got my grandson, Tim Witherspoon III. He's a boxer. He's from his mom is from Cambodia, and his father, my son Tim Jr. He used to box too. So he's trying to fight, and it'd be the first time in boxing history that 3 generations would be in the ring if everything go right. I think he's going to be at least 6'3". He's pretty tall now. Yeah. So what's keeping me moving is knowing that I've got my grandkids here. I know that the boxing industry, I did enough for them to pay attention to me. People in boxing call me to do this and do that. So you interviewed me. I'm kind of rusty because we don't have nothing for us when our career is over. When our career is over, we don't have nothing to help keep us motivated, keep us moving. There's fights. I always try to pay attention to the fights. I'm always trying to find a way to get into not the mainstream, just be available for boxers to help try to get in. I try to get involved with Anthony Joshua. I try to get involved with Wilder, but not so much Tyson Fury. But Joshua to me need anybody can win that fight. Tyson Fury or Joshua. Yeah. Any one of them can win because all it takes is one punch. But skills will give you a better percentage chance of winning. If somebody showed you just a little bit more, you have a better chance of winning. So I was trying to put together my several boxers so we could train my grandson. Like I told you, we're trying to build this situation up because it will be the first time in history. We all got the same name. I'm Tim Witherspoon Sr., Tim Witherspoon Jr., then Tim Witherspoon III. So we're trying to get him moving. He's an amateur now. And he has good defense. He has good jab. He's a really nice kid, and we're going to try to push him. But I'm trying to start like a team anyway. I'm doing that. I'm trying to just make ends meet. That's all. I'm trying to get in the main. I'm trying to get into boxing. But they don't want to do. They don't want to. They can't. We former boxers. It's hard to get a job to get back into the industry, and this is why we need a union. And it's really bad in England, but in America, in England, the percentages and stuff, they have to work on that. A manager can be a promoter, which is a conflict of interest. In America, you can't do that. So I've been working with this guy, Paul Johnson, and a couple other people. We trying to get all the boxers together so we, when we retire, we will have money in our pockets and we'll have invested some of our money, and we got to keep the bad guys out of the business. There are good promoters and managers. There's some good managers and promoters. I'm not against them. I'm just against them doing the wrong things to the boxers. And it seems like it's getting better, a little bit better now, because when we was fighting Don King and other guys and other promoters and, promoters and managers that was doing wrong, we were doing a really good job. They tried to blackball us here, blackball us there. But now there's a new set of promoters and managers, and I think they're doing a really good job. I think we just have to get all the boxers together, former boxers together. We the only sport that don't have support when the career's over. Football, baseball, I'm talking about soccer. Every sport has it but us. So that's what I'm concentrating a lot of my time on when when my career is over. That's what I'm doing now. I've been keeping in touch with boxers. We trying to go to the Congress. We trying to go to Congress and try to figure something out. So look, Melzick Taylor, a couple other boxers, not Melzick Taylor, but yeah, no, there's a couple of the boxers. They passed away. Bert Cooper was one of them. It took them 3 weeks to bury them. They had no money. They broke. Yeah, so this is really important. This is what you might hear in the future. We're trying to do that now. We're trying to get Congress and other people to look at us too. It's all this stuff is going on. So that's what I've been doing. I've been occupied with talking to boxers, seeing if they need this, calling the WBC, seeing if they can send money. The WBC helped me. They gave me $10,000. They're helping other boxers. This is what our sport needs, is support afterwards. Everybody's taking money above all that, but if you don't have no money, when your career's over, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
You're in trouble. So we need structure. There is structure. They're making all the millions and all that. If we can get some of them guys, if I made $100 million for a fight, I would take $5 million. I swear. That will make me big if I started a union or started some kind of support for boxers. What is Mayweather and what are those guys doing? They can get that money back. If they put up $5 million just to get a union or some kind of support started, don't they know they'd be big? That's big. That's big. No, they're not thinking. Everybody, hey man, I don't care. I got $100 million. You best believe I'm gonna take 5 or something like that. And if I can get it back over 5 to 10 years, or if I don't get it back, as long as as long as we did a positive thing in the boxing game. Them guys got all that money and they only need a little bit so we can do all this stuff. They don't want to do it.
No, but that's positive. That's positive work there, Tim. And I hope something does end up getting formed. Because it is, one of the sports that gets neglected, and obviously it's the most dangerous sport. My final question to you:
It's the only sport. It's the only sport that don't have support. We the only sport, and everybody watches us, right? But we the only sport don't have support. Put your money here. Put your money there. We can't get medical. We can't get this and that. Because of boxing, we had to go to the government and get all kind of coverage and stuff. So you was going to ask me another question.
Yeah, right? Final question, Tim. I want to ask you this. I already know the answer to this. A lot of guys retire from boxing unhappy.
Yeah.
Are you a happy man? I think you are.
Oh yeah. I fought a battle. I started something that I didn't know was going to wind up like it would wind up. It started out really good. My first fights, beginning of my boxing career, and then all of a sudden it started turning gray. Started, not really turning out too good. I started learning a lot of things that was negative things, and then I went through it. I went through ups, I went through downs, and I made it through the crack. Now I can speak. I can speak and talk to people about the experience. And I'm not the only one. I think I'm one of the most outspoken about all the negative stuff. But I like it the way it is now. I don't know what it would have been if I'd had $100 million. But right now I don't have that, and I'm happy, and I know what it is, man. I know what it is to feel certain ways, negative, feelings you get. And I'm not gonna let nobody else get me upset, because I got kids I have to take care of, and I gotta pass on love to everybody. That's my thing. I'm not jealous of them because they making millions. I hope they take care of their money. I'm not jealous or anything, but I wish they would help the boxing industry out so we could start going in a good direction. That's my thing, but. I wouldn't change this for nothing in the world what I'm doing right now. Got my grandkids here. I'm gonna get ready to go cook for them. No, they're gonna take them to McDonald's. I'm gonna take them to McDonald's. So like I said, I'm kind of rusty, and if I was involved with something after my career was over, I would feel more positive, like I did a good interview. And every time I do an interview, I don't think I did well, you know.
Oh, Tim, don't be silly.
Well, it's got something to do with the game, the boxing game. I would have been, as a matter of fact, if you got to pay for this here phone call, that's going to be expensive.
Don't worry about that. Tim,
Okay.
just finally, my friend, if you've got any closing words, obviously you said it, the UK has got a place in your heart. There's a lot of guys over here who have loved and supported you for years. What's your closing message to the fans that are listening to this?
Well, what can I say? That's the country that has more support for sports, any sport, and I learned that when I fought Frank Bruno. When I went and I came to England and I seen how the support was for their sportsmen and everybody, I was like, wow, that is really cool. They was ready to kill for Frank Bruno, but I really found out that they're lovely people, and there is negative all over the world, but there really was a lot of, I really wasn't treated bad over there, and I'm really grateful for even being involved with family over there, and to say that I got a grandson over there, to say that my daughter was born in England, to say that's like cool. I feel good about that, and it's just that, what can I say? A lot of people don't get to travel and do the things that I did, so I'm just grateful that it happened to me. I know where to go. As soon as I go in the airport, I know exactly where to go. If I get lost, I'll call you, okay?
You're more than welcome. You're more than welcome, Tim. Listen, it's been a complete honor and pleasure to walk down memory lane with you. Thank you so much for your time. I wish you happiness and health for the future, and I hope we can speak again soon.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay, and this wraps up episode 288 of the BoxHard Podcast. I've been your host, Joey Coastman. Eddie Chambers has been with me for the duration of the show. A huge thank you to our sole guest on this week's podcast, the former two-time heavyweight world champion, Mr. Tim Witherspoon. The biggest thanks of all, though, goes out to you, the listeners. Remember to tell a friend about the podcast. Remember, if you do get a chance, please leave us a review on iTunes. It really does mean a lot. But that's about everything from myself now. Enjoy your weekends, people. Stay safe, and we shall see you all again next week.